You're audible. Okay.
Am I audible?
I think so. Let me turn you
This
up.
stream is sponsored by Audible.
Gosh, whenever I'm listening to an ebook and this is gonna shock you, but I have a bias toward, like, female readers. And then that fucking Audible guy comes in, he's like, this is Audible. And I'm like, get out of here. No one was talking to you. Anyway, hi everyone. I'm just trying to check if... Can you let me know how the audio levels are between myself and Maru and our music here? Because that is always the struggle. This is the first ever inaugural Tea with Honey, and I've already started it by raging against the Audible man, so I think we're off to a good start.
We're off to a good start. We're like loose, you know. We're like loose. We're like natural.
Yeah.
Natural. I've already mispronounced.
We're
words.
so
It's gonna be
natural.
great.
We don't even need to say words right.
Who needs to say a word? What is
Yeah.
a word?
Maru's a little.
Please,
Yeah, I
please,
figured. Okay.
I'm a little quiet. I'm not gonna scream at the top of my lungs. I'm a civilized person, Coleman. Don't mind Coleman.
Where's the cool thing where you can adjust? Oh well, I guess since it's just one call, that would just be turning up Discord.
I'm gonna close one of my
I
windows.
can do that.
I keep hearing the street sounds, even with my noise canceling headphones.
That should help as Maru retreats from us.
Okay. I am now. I am present. I exist.
Okay, how's that? Also, hello, Coleman. Welcome, Skylagra.
How?
Welcome.
Hey.
If you're new here, I am Honey Melon. I'm a melf. That's a melon elf. I'm a princess who lives in a magical tower in a forest. But I'm still gonna pay the bills, so I work as a Japanese to English translator. And I do chill, cozy streams. Partly because I like that, and partly out of necessity, because that's what the vibe usually is. No matter how energetic I try to be, you know? Mario, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
I will, yes. Sorry, I was just like setting everything on my screen so I could have the chat and I could have like our list of topics and I could have some BGM for myself. Sorry. Hello, everybody. My name is Maru de Cinco. I am the hero of hope and tomboy of tomorrow. I am a tokusatsu-themed VTuber. You're thinking, you know, tokusatsu is, your Kamen Rider, your Ultraman, stuff like that. I have a superhero form that everyone forgets is there because I don't have a model for it. And yeah, I'm a writer streamer. I call myself a hangout streamer. I just hang out with people. I build Gunpla, essentially. That's like one of the main things that I do. I do some custom projects, and I also just generally play like retro games or games that have to do with robots or big things. And yeah, a big fan of idols and Yuri. And Yuri is how I met you. So,
Yeah.
Honey Melon.
Yuri brought us together, which seems appropriate.
Yeah, and that's how I met you, Leary, and Pia.
Right, the Yuri Symposium. Ah, that was a good time.
Yes.
Hi, Milo.
Hi, guys.
Oh, we didn't actually discuss this, but I figured since we're just on the one channel, we can at least try to, acknowledge chat. And chat, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome. But also, we might get lost in the sauce and ignore you, so... Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I know I'm gonna do that, so I'm sorry in advance. Ah! I might also...
Oh, no!
So, I'm having kind of like in Alice in Wonderland problem right now.
Oh, no, it's the scroll wheel.
It's the scroll wheel.
Lock the model? Do you unlock them?
I think you're right. I should do that.
Probably.
Model
Pretty sure
movement locked. Does that... Oh, I grew my arm.
Would that... Oh, no, your arm! Oh, but you can lock your arm.
Oh,
up.
but okay, I'm good. We're good. We're good.
Oh my god, Captain Hurricane. We can't do this here. I can't say the words that I say to you in DMs. We're having a polite We're having a polite, very nice.
Right? Yeah, we're very
afternoon
civilized here.
tea. Yeah. You know how civilized I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm exactly like, oh, blah, deranged, unhinged streamer. I have my moments. I have my moments. But yeah.
Yeah, I have
Ah.
like, you know, my tangents. My hair's a little cut off over
Oh.
there, so that's fun. But that's not a big deal. I'll check it out. But in the meantime, I know you said you were making some tea.
Oh, yes.
What kind of tea
So
have you
I
got?
So right here, what I got is the last of my 3-in-1 instant matcha latte sachets. Right here. It's actually covered with a saucer IRL because I was trying to keep it warm before the stream, but I wanted it to be ready to go. And the only like cup that I have that preserves heat is I drink coffee on it, and no matter how much bicarbonate of soda I use on it, it's gone, Jerry. That cup ain't good for anything but coffee anymore. So yeah, I got that, and then I got like a big bag of biscuits that I got from Lidl, and they're these like chocolatey kind of biscuits, Fidone they're called. I don't know. It sounds Italian, but I've never heard of Italian biscuits called Fidone. So I have no idea. But yeah, that's what I got. What have you got?
That sounds delicious. I have a little. Why is my hair? It's fine. I have some orange creamsicle tea. I actually sent some to a friend because it's really good. It's like herbal tea from a local-ish tea place. And earlier I had it's called the Most Oreo. It's kind of an extremely American snack that I had. It's like allegedly the maximum amount of Oreo that you can have in one Oreo. So
Maximum
it's just
Oreo.
It's just an Oreo with too much filling, basically, is what it is.
Oh God.
Oh no.
That sounds very, very wild. The Most Oreo. Wow.
I know. I'm not sure why they couldn't have
but whatever.
couldn't have called it like the Morio. Seems like the obvious pun.
Oh my God, the Morio.
Yeah.
And also that'll be good for a JoJo tie-in.
Yeah, there you go.
For Diamonds Unbreakable, which takes place in Morio, the fictional town. Yeah.
I'm really a
also
little
committed to that joke,
stumped
Chad. I'm sorry.
about my.
What's happening?
I see what's happening, but sorry. As we're talking, I'm trying to fix the pesky little cutoff that I've got there on the edge of my hair. It's a stylistic choice. It's on purpose. Maybe that's how I'll fix it. We'll just say that. I guess if I unlock myself and just scoot.
I mean, if you scoot over towards me, I can scoot away from you.
And then I can move this over here. Move in. Oh my. Move a little closer. Sorry.
I can.
We're having a Yuri moment already.
I can like, I can like Homer Simpson myself, you know, walk backwards.
Yeah, if you want to scoot a tiny bit to the right, just so that you're... Face! Okay, that's plenty. No, don't go away. No! Oh!
I'm back. It's fine. It's fine.
Yay, okay. I was like, that was a short tea party. I could have just used the demo version.
Yeah. God, okay. I'm checking with the look at the stream. I'm scooting, I'm rooting, I'm tooting, and by God, I'm always be
swapping my hair around and it looks like it's fixed now. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Maru. Thank you, everyone.
We're all good. We're all good.
Chat's loving the Most Oreo. I wonder if I can pull up a picture of it. It's really just a... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that yes, it's the Most Oreo limited edition cookies and cream chocolate sandwich cookie.
Wow.
And it's how do I the cream, like the stuffing, the contents of the Oreo are Oreo flavored. Also, it has like a little, what felt to me like a warning on the back that's like, because normally the serving size on a package of Oreos is like two or three cookies. But not only is it one cookie, but there's a little note that says like, want a special treat? Have a single cookie. It's like,
oh my god.
What happens if I have two cookies?
I don't. It's like when you tell me about stuff like the most Oreo, right? Like an Oreo filled with Oreo flavored Oreo filling. I just think to myself, and I don't want to get political here, honey, but has America gone too far?
Yes.
I think it has.
I think it probably has.
I think, honestly, that ship sailed with baconaise. Let's be honest.
Baconaise. Is that like bacon mayonnaise?
I only know it because I only know it from Jon Stewart, who's made fun of it.
Right, exactly. The serving size is a lie regardless, but yeah.
Yeah.
I did basically have a single most Oreo as my lunch. So there it is in the corner.
Wow.
I'm gonna hide it. Yeah, you gotta go bigger. Well, I guess that's the American way.
Yeah.
Oh no. And I mean, I totally bought into it because I bought them, so.
You reminded me of like Tim Rogers talking about game controllers, but like racing game controllers, and he's saying like, I can't buy even a really good racing wheel, because by then I would want to get like the entire setup, the entire kind of cockpity setup for like a driving game, and I can't just get the wheel because I don't have anywhere to put it because I live in New York. I live in a New York in a Manhattan flat. I can't go big, and I'm already home.
Well, he probably didn't say flat, but
he didn't say flat because listen, look, he's an apartment.
Sorry. The punchline was really good. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. That's what we do. That's how we do.
Yeah.
But we met. No, I'm scrolling. I was trying to scroll through chat. Now I'm doing it.
You caught the.
Okay, clicked away from my studio. I am like we met through because I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw about the Yuri Symposium. Someone shared it onto my timeline, and it was you, Leary, and Pia P. And I followed you all. And it was great. And then you mentioned that I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now, honey.
Oh no!
I'm gonna put you on the spot immediately. You mentioned that you had translated. No, it wasn't a hot take. You mentioned that you had translated Blooming to You.
Yes.
And then I can't remember what it was, but it was like, I think, because I think your IRL Twitter links to your VTuber account.
It's not a huge secret.
It's not a huge secret.
No.
And so I went and looked you up, and I basically matched it. I went and looked at my books of Blooming to You, of which I have the entire collection, of course. Nice. And I looked through it, and I was like, oh, this is real. Because, like, your first instinct is to distrust, right? I mean, when I mentioned to people that I have 2, soon 3 third level degrees in 3 different disciplines, I can understand if people would disbelieve that. It's true though, because I am a genius. I'm not. I'm just an asshole. But yeah, I was just kind of like trying to like figure out like if or very often it's less I'm doubting the other person and more I am doubting my own comprehension of a situation, So anyway, so I looked it up, and then we got talking, and I was like, oh my god, you've translated a bunch of my favorite Yuri manga, holy shit. And as a I would say retired pro translator myself, I was impressed as well. And I don't have 3 masters. I'm about to get my 2nd. The 3rd one is going to be in about a decade. Keep up. But yeah, no, anyway, that's how we got talking. And then we got talking. We had a lot of things in common. The end. Goodbye, chat.
Thanks for coming.
That was it. Thanks for coming. But yeah.
No, I was really, I'm really flattered and happy. And I also totally get that, because when I say I translated Bloom into You, I could mean like but for whom, I guess, is the the proper question. Like, I am the official translator, but I could have meant like I translated it for, you know, website or something. But no,
Yeah.
it's my for reals job. And that reaction also made me really happy because oftentimes people to my face will just be like, "Oh, I just read that for free online," and I'm like, "Great." I'm like, mine is better, but you know, go off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily touch on that subject, but what I will say is that it's like, I mean, that's just basic courtesy. That's just basic courtesy.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, don't do that to. It's like, you know, would you say that to the manga artist? I mean, if you would, you shouldn't. You shouldn't say that to the manga artist.
It's like,
You
and
know
now
what I mean?
I've brought up the topic that I said I wanted to avoid, but like, you know, I don't particularly care how people are reading things. I'd prefer if you supported the official release and all that. But like, maybe just don't say it right to my face that you think my job is like pointless and you'd rather just read a fan thing, you know? I think that's true of anyone.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna talk about this subject because I know it's you know,
it's totally fine.
For me it's an academic conversation. For you it's your job, so I don't wanna put you in a spot in any way, and we can talk about that part of it in private. But no, I was impressed because like the work that I've done for translation is very different. It's very, very different indeed. I have done fan translations of non-Japanese comics. By which I mean, I once translated about 10 Mafalda strips for my friends because the Mafalda English versions are very hard to get. Mafalda is a... Do you know Mafalda, honey? Have you heard of Mafalda?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Mafalda is an incredibly iconic Argentinian comic strip from the, I would say, mid to late 60s. That is like it was like a newspaper strip about a bunch of kids. When an American encounters it, their first reaction is like, this is a ripoff of Peanuts, because of course everything from the third world has to be a ripoff of the godlike imperium of America, right?
Right.
The reality is it's not. It's because while Peanuts is great, I like Peanuts. I enjoy it. It's nice, fun. Mafalda is like a deeply political and kind of philosophical kind of comic. It starts off being a bit more like Peanuts, and then it goes into like some interesting places. And it's about this bunch of kids, and the main character is a girl called Mafalda who is like about like 10, and she's like questioning the world, and she asks her parents about the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And it's very important. It's very iconic in Latin America, and it's pretty big in continental Europe, especially in Italy, I would say. Oh, great. Spotify has realized that I'm on a Discord call and has decided, no, you can't have music. I'm not broadcasting you, Spotify.
I can send you the video I'm listening to. If you want to be, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you can, because Spotify decided to narc on me. I hate pirating you, Spotify. Come on. Jesus, I already pay for you. Anyway, but yeah, so I translated some Mafalda because Mafalda is one of those things, again, super iconic in a lot of parts of the world, and then in the English-speaking world, it never got translated because, check it out, it's deeply critical of, like, American and British foreign policy.
Ayo.
So, you know.
Yeah. Maybe send me that later, because that sounds really interesting.
I will. The English translation, so I don't know what the current status of it is. For many, many, many years, the only English translation I ever found was done in print and done in Argentina. And I can tell you from reading it, because it's my first language, I can tell you that it was translated by an Argentinian translator that, you know, has a solid grasp of English and has never lived in an English-speaking country. Because their sentence structures are bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it happens.
Ediciones de la Flor. You want a good Argentinian translator that will give you natural-sounding English? Look me up. My rates would be extremely reasonable if I got to translate Mafalda. It would make my career, honestly. But yeah, so that's like all I done. I did like a bunch of lettering. But yeah, the kind of work that I did that I've actually done as a professional has mainly been film, and presentations for like community groups and stuff like that. I once did something for Quakers. They had a presentation about the history of the concept of citizenship in America, and they wanted it translated into Spanish, and I translated the whole thing. It took me a day. It didn't take me. It was mainly like research. I needed to research about it. But yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then it was like films. Not a lot, because like what ended up happening in the way my career happened, what I also learned in my translation studies masters is I learned to do subtitling professionally. And I started working with local indie festivals as a subtitler for indie film festivals, I should say, as a subtitler for deaf and hard of hearing audiences. I was doing closed captions. So I would do them, I would either add just the captions, or I would like do from scratch. And it was only very, very rarely that I had to actually do translation. But I did do it. I've translated a couple of like entire films and a whole bunch of shorts, either direction, because I have enough fluency to do both. Even though they say you should only translate into your native language. And I understand that. But I've lived more than half my life in the English-speaking world. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, like, I don't think you want me to do English to Japanese, because there's plenty of clients out there who will see the language pair and they're like, oh, it goes both ways. And I'm like, not if you want it to sound good. But I'll do it like casually, you know. But I probably wouldn't do it professionally. Oh, of course, my headphones have low battery. That's lovely.
Oh, no. But
that's okay.
If you had lived half of your life in Japan, it might.
Yeah, I think that would be totally fine. Yeah. I admire the ability to be that fluent in more than one language.
Thank you. I have 3.
That is even crazier.
Because I have Italian as well, but my Italian is much rustier. Because like my first is of course Spanish, and then English is my day-to-day language because of where I live, and I've lived for a long time in UK and Ireland. But Italian I don't get to practice it as much because I'm like never in Italy. Right now I'm always like trying to find ways to engage with Italian. I read manga in Italian a lot. Every time I go to Italy with my parents, I buy a stack of manga. I'm currently reading Dear Brother in Italian.
Onisamae.
Yeah, Onisamae.
There's some folks who are really into that.
Oh, it's good so far, but so far I prefer the anime. But the anime is by it's directed by Osamu Dezaki, so of course it's just a masterpiece. But like all of my Saint Seiya books, I buy them in Italian, stuff like that. But the problem I realized, the problem I identified recently, is that I can read Italian perfectly well. My spoken Italian is kind of missing a bit of vocabulary, and I realized because I never get to listen to it. But recently Netflix, and you might find this interesting or not, who knows? Excuse me, I just burped. Netflix recently added basically every dub available to Star Trek, to all the Star Trek shows that they got. And I basically started watching DS9, Deep Space Nine, in Italian.
And, that's very... That's like galaxy brain level of like language study.
It's been great. It's been great to get that practice, because like Deep Space Nine is a show that I've been obsessed with for decades, and I rewatch it periodically. So for me, rewatching it feels very normal. I know these episodes and these characters like the back of my hand, and then just having the Italian. I don't use the Italian subtitles because the Italian subtitles are for watching it in English, so they're not not matched. And so, I find that
that's so distracting.
Yeah, so I just have the subtitles in English, just in case I need to follow it. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. They also have it in Japanese as well. So whenever I get to the point where I can practice Japanese, I can, and I don't want to watch anime or tokusatsu or J-dramas or millions of different Japanese cultural productions, Sorry.
Why do that when you could just watch DS9 again?
Exactly. Or Next Generation or the original series. But
I've been talking recently about, but never Voyager.
I'm not a fan of Voyager.
I haven't seen it in its entirety. I feel like I caught random episodes. And recently I was thinking about trying to get Mr. Melon to watch some form of Star Trek. It's a real, Romeo and Juliet situation, because he kind of grew up in like a Star Wars household. And I was always watching Star Trek with my Melon family. But we both have like interest in the other, so it's not really. Thank you for the follow, Captain Hurricane. Why is that there twice? That's fun. I know why. I'll fix it. I know why, and I won't fix it. Whatever. That seems like a pain. Oh no! I think I can do it. Anyway, hide those. I was debating. Next Gen is the one that I've seen a lot of times, and then I haven't finished either Voyager or, and I'm sorry, DS9. I guess I know where your vote would be on that if I'm going to watch one.
Well, yeah, one of them is a really good show, and the other one is Voyager. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I grew up with both. I grew up with both Star Wars and Star Trek. Like I don't know, there wasn't that. I never understood that division. They're two completely different things.
Yeah, it's not as if I didn't watch Star Wars as well, but yeah. There seems to be a, I don't know, built-in dynamic like that, or at least they used to be. These days, maybe not so much. But it always felt like you were supposed to stand one or the other. But it's true. Yeah, anything with star in the title. Me. Yeah, pretty much.
Always just baffle me. Oh yeah, I need to actually put on that playlist that you sent me so that I can.
Yeah, it's have something full of bangers. I was actually working on a yuri that I am drawing before we started, and I proceeded to hyperfixate on it for like 3 hours, and that's why I was running behind in prep.
Can you tell us about it?
Well, hazukashii. I was gonna work on it on stream more, and then I found that I was actually kind of embarrassed to do that, but
oh no.
But it's just like a 12-page comic. It's about Ready to Be Shocked. 2 VTubers who are a like established pair in some, fictional corporate setting, but have never met in real life and are sort of tasked with doing an off collab. And the idea stemmed from, what if these 2 streamers who were like close on the internet but have never met, and then they're, streaming together, and one of them just like won't look at the other, and she's like, oh my god, she hates me, like, it's because I'm not as cute in real life as I am like in my VTuber model, like she must be really upset. And then eventually you cut to the other woman's perspective, and she's just like, holy shit, she's so cute, I can't even look at her. What am I gonna do? So she's like trying to play it cool. And that's pretty much the whole thing. And also I'm realizing as I look at our screen that I may have accidentally given one of them your goggles.
That's funny.
Yeah. I hope that's okay.
Great, though. Yeah, they're not, I'm not the only person with goggles in the world. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's all good.
It was really funny trying to design fictional VTubers and being like, shit, if I do this, they'll look like this friend, and if I do that, they'll look like this Hololive person. But like, there's really no avoiding it.
Do you know what's funny? I was when I was like there was a point where I was like focusing a bit more on my lore, and I've stopped doing that, not because there's anything wrong with it, but because like, in terms of the time that I have for VTuber related activities, it's sadly not a good use of it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's mainly because I got attached to my lore as a, how do I put this? As a as something that I would like to do something with, as something like I would like to like I have like an entire like story arc put in my brain, and it's not to do with anything related to like my VTuber activities necessarily directly. It's just I like to create characters, I like to write stories, and I just don't have time to do it, or I just don't have the capacity. But I want to show you like you might know that I have in the lore, I have like a sister called Sube, and I featured her a bit more prominently in my early time as a VTuber because it was a fun thing to do, and I'm in a place right now where like I love her as a character. I don't know what to do with her, but I gave her like a season 2 design, and I'm also going to introduce other characters that are like fellow like generals of the big bad. But I just wanted to show you this. I'm gonna just DM it to you. I mean, I've shown this publicly. It's not, but like I was using like the same character design tool, Chat Genesis 2, that I used to originally like draft my design, and I created these. And then I was like, they just look like a VTuber group. I'm gonna send these to you.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just this is just a group of VTubers. Because each of them has because like the theme chat for you guys to know is like each of the girls has like each of them has like an animal theme and like a concept, right? And because each of them also has like a monster form, basically. And but because of that, then it's like, oh, each of them is an animal, each of them has a concept. This is a VTuber group. This is how you create a VTuber group. But it was completely by accident.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very, very proud of them. My favorite one of these, by the way, is the names, by the way, are not, their order is not necessarily Japanese order. But Kumo, the short girl who is like spider themed. The thing about all the others is that all the others are like aliens or interdimensional gods or androids or mutants or other things. Kumo is just a cosplayer that was given a power suit.
That's beautiful.
She's just a weird girl that likes spiders a lot. That's it.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Having translated,
Anyway.
So I'm a spider. I actually just
I need
finished
to read that.
the manga spin-off. I'm kind of sad because I didn't realize it was ending until I started working on it. I mean, the main series of Spider is over. It has 16 light novel volumes. It's really good. It's got like a really fun concept, but then it also, it really delivers and has a lot of twists and turns and does interesting things with isekai and stuff. But then there's also a spin-off that's just like, just like a gag manga about what if there were 4 of her. And that's it. That's the whole.
What if, right?
Yeah.
I've not read a lot of light novels, and I do have to say, and this is not, I don't want this to sound like a slight, but like, I do find it, generally speaking, I find it difficult to sit down with a novel, just in general, just no matter what its origin, no matter if it's originally in English, originally in another language. And I have a lot of experience with translated novels. But my experience with novels translated from Japanese is very up and down.
Yeah.
Some of them really work and some of them really kind of leave me a bit cold. And I know that this is there's a million factors for this. There's no one reason, because it's I know, for example, that I think the first novels translated into English from Japanese that I've ever read were the Mobile Suit Gundam novels by Yoshiyuki Tomino that are his own retelling of the original series. And by the way, honey, they're buck wild. They are insane. They have a lot of cool ideas, and they're kind of more realistic in the way the universe is portrayed. But also some of the ideas are buck wild, and I'm not gonna get into it because could do an entire stream on that. But I was reading that, and I was like, this reads really weirdly. And I was reading one of the more recent translations. There's been several translations of them. I was reading one of the more recent official translations. And I was like, this feels a bit weird and a bit off. And I spoke to some people, to some people that have read it in Japanese, and they said, oh, no, this is not the translator. Yoshiyuki Tomino is just a weird writer. He's just write weird. And it's just very hard to convey that in a translation without it sounding nonsensical, the reality is that Tomino is known to be a bit wild and a bit weird in the way that he writes. Not just what he writes, but also like in the way in which he constructs sentences.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's hard to know with light novels whether it's the translation or the author, because plenty of them have unique writing styles that may or may not work in English. But and then there's also,
like people,
there's like how much the translator is allowed to change like the sentence structure. Spider, I think, has a new, every sentence is its own paragraph, and I used to like sort of clump them together, but they were pretty much like, yeah, you can't really do that unless there's like a good reason to combine them. Don't change the structure.
That's a bit difficult, right? Because like one of the things that that varies from language to language is like sentence length. Like what you like, this is something that is usually stumps Spanish speakers when we learn English, because like I once showed, I had like an Argentinian newspaper, and I showed it to an English speaking friend of mine, and I was like, okay, do you see this opening paragraph in this article, this long paragraph that is like 7 lines? That's a sentence. That's just one single unbroken sentence, and that's not considered incorrect in any way or strange. And then you go to English and you have the concept of the run-on sentence, and it's like, oh, okay. And so it's a bit, it can get a bit weird like that to translate into.
Yeah, there's similar things in Japanese. Really long sentences, also things that would be considered sentence fragments in English, because it's just like really, really long, sort of. Now I'm forgetting all my linguistics knowledge, but what is the term? I don't know, like a long phrase that is describing a character, and then the character's name, and then that's the end of the sentence. So it's like, like Honey Melon, who was a princess and a melon elf and had recently done XYZ. End of statement.
Yeah.
It's like, it took a little while to realize, oh, okay, so in English you have to change it to like, Honey Melon is XYZ, and not like, otherwise, it's all a mess. Oh, yeah. I got a hi honey, and I think I missed a hi honey earlier, so if you don't mind, we'll do a quick. Do you also want to say hi honey?
I can say it. You go first, though.
Okay. Hi honey. Do you want dinner?
Hi.
Do you want a bath? Or do you want no? Sorry, there's a whole spiel.
Oh, I didn't realize.
You don't have to say the whole thing.
I can do.
Dozo.
Hi, honey. Do you want a bath, dinner, or ma-du-chan?
That was perfect. Oh my god.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the meal.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but yeah, the bath, please. But like yeah, like I remember like there was like a big there was like a bit of a okay, so one of the things, and we said before the stream, we're not gonna get into a discourse over translation, and we're not gonna get into that, but I want to tell you one kind of bad take from a long time ago. It's not don't worry, it's not like one of the really, really bad ones, but it's just, so for years a bunch of us, like the kind of freak that I am, my favorite anime is Legend of the Galactic Heroes, because I am weird, and I like German guys in spaceships having debates. And for years we were wanting to get the novelization, so not novelizations, the original novels, that they're not light novels, they're like novels, that's it, that is based on. And we got them. I actually only have the first 3 in print. I have them all in my Kindle. We got them all. And the translation did like get I would say it did improve as they went, but when the first book came out, a lot of people, even myself, I complained a little, because I was like, it's a bit dry. It's a bit it feels a bit characterless. And they did like inject a bit into it, like not much, just enough to keep it a bit more interesting. Because the problem is, the Japanese novels, the original novels, they're written as a historical record. It's
Oh, man.
Then Admiral Reinhard von Lohengrin did this, and then he went to this place, and then he thought this, and then he did that, and it's not bad. I mean, these are huge bestsellers in Japan. Like, the entire point is that it's a fictional future history of this, you know, and they're really good. The anime, I'm sorry to say, is better, but in fairness, it's one of the highest budget, most star-studded staff and cast you've ever heard of. You know, it's the kind of cast where Shuichi Sharaznable Ikeda and Toru Amuro Rei Furuya play bit parts.
Oh man.
And they're happy to be included because that's how big it was. And the whole thing was directed by the director of Macross, Noboru Ishiguro. So the whole thing is just incredible. But yeah, so obviously the novels can never fully live up to an adaptation of that scope. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I've derailed somewhat.
No. I feel like that's the vibe.
That's the vibe.
Because that's kind of what happens anyway, when I'm talking or when I'm talking to someone. So that's why I wanted it to be not so much like a talk show where I ask like hard-hitting questions and you answer them. It's more like a tea party where we talk about 40 different things and none of them are from the list. And by the way, I don't have the list.
Oh, I have the list.
Because I switched back my account on Discord.
Okay.
I more or less remember, but if you want to paste it to me, I would not complain.
Just paste it. Let me just...
There's a list. Yes, Wolf. There is a list.
There's a list.
Mostly because we were afraid that we were gonna forget what we were intending to talk about.
Yeah, well, in case there was something that we wanted to talk about and we forgot, and then it's at the last minute.
Yeah.
No!
Yeah, it's less likely I figured that I would just like completely draw a blank, and more that afterward I would be like, we didn't talk about like the main thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at this right now and I feel like the first thing we said we wanted to talk about is Oshi VTubers. And I don't...
Oh yeah.
We haven't yet, although we can. But first I am gonna switch over headphones real quick. So give me 1 second.
Food fight.
Oh, that's not how. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Maru the VTuber manager. What? I don't know what that was in reference to. But this is one of my trademarks, chat. For those of you who are new to me, one of my trademarks is like, I read the chat and I go like, what the heck? What are you talking about? I have no idea the context. Even if it's something I just said.
Okay, I think... Did I mute Mars somehow? What? Lip read? Yeah, no, I hear you. I just saw something about trying to lip read you. Let's see. Maru muted. Is Maru muted? It shouldn't be, but I did just... Oh no! Okay. It's because I switched, inputs. That's really weird. I'm gonna pause the... Why would that happen? It's probably because I changed the audio. Why does it still think it's speakers? It's the headphones. Wait, that's that's what I want. That. Try now?
Hello?
Okay, that looked like legit. Alright.
Chad, can you hear me?
How about now,
Can you
Chad?
hear me, Chad? I'm so happy.
Oh, good.
Okay, enough of that.
Alright.
no,
Gotta
she's
give
back.
those, I'm gonna allow the shut up that this auto mod blocked. But yeah, sorry about that. I had to, auto mod is very, protective, and I'm like, I appreciate you, but, you know, we can say it's always finding new varieties of, like, gay, that it's like, someone's trying to be mean to you, and I'm like, honey, we're just talking about being gay.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the thought.
How dare you? Captain
Yeah,
America.
because I switched my audio input, it must have just gotten... I don't know why it would do Discord and not... or do the music and not Discord, but, you know, nobody knows how technology works.
Nobody knows.
It's all just, you know, hopes and dreams, pretty much.
As someone that is a computer programmer as a job, I can tell you, it's not exactly hopes and dreams, but it's not too far off either. There's a lot of okay, I fixed this problem. I don't know how, but what I did worked. So
yeah, that
digital duct
tracks.
tape.
There we go. Turn that down a tiny bit for me. So let me know, Chad, if it's good, if everything is good. Okay. Yeah, that too. And Automad can't tell the difference, and there's
a difference between seriously rude and jokingly rude, but also remember, I'm in Britain and Captain Hurricane is British, and the kind of things that we say to each other might make people feel like... If you've ever heard of the controversies that Vox Akuma has been in for this, where he's not actually being, like, offensive, he's, like, doing some, like, trash talk with, I think it was Sunny, one of the Australian members of Niji. And it was like not, but yeah, Captain Hurricane and I call each other. We call each other certain things. It's funny, like when we did a collab that was like each of us had like each of us was showing the model kit we were working on, and like we were actually like much nicer to each other because we were just like talking about what we were doing, and you know. But I also put him on trial, so there's that.
Right. Sometimes that's just what friends do, I guess. Also, I forgot, I did ask you what kind of tea and snacks you were having, but I also wanted to ask your favorite kind of tea, so I can pour you some tea from my little magical teapot.
Yeah.
Obviously. Why do we have a tea set if not to play with it?
Yes. Yeah, so, you were not wrongly convicted. Okay? we cannot litigate that here. But yeah, my favorite tea. I don't know. I tend to kind of like. I like green tea with jasmine. I think that would be my favorite, probably.
That's a solid choice. Here, I will pour some into this little mug here. Bloop bloop bloop.
Mate is not a tea. Mate is an infusion because tea is a plant.
I should tilt it, but you know, it's magical, so it also just comes out correctly. It's fine.
Yes. Yeah. Mate is my favorite infusion, but it's not tea. There you go.
I guess that makes sense.
Coleman, this is not a courtroom. It's not a courtroom. Don't make me get the wig. I don't have my gavel here. Can't do the gavel. I don't even have OBS on. That's where the gavel lives. But yeah, thank you for the tea. Thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, Oshi VTubers. So that's an interesting topic, actually. Because my Oshi VTubers have evolved over time. and I don't know if that's the case for you. And I think I don't know. I'm realizing recently that I'm a bit of a fickle person. My opinions change. I let myself. I don't like having. How can I put this? I have a lot of strong core principles, but my opinions on like media, like when people are like, "Oh, I like this," or "This is my favorite," or whatever, are mutable because holding on to them too hard is boring to me. So like, if I find something new that I'm into, I'll be into that, you know. And I'm, you know, but yeah, I don't know if that's the same for you. But I still like a lot of my original VTuber oshis, but don't necessarily follow them. But yes.
I think, you know, my original oshis are still the same, and I think it's partly because I am too intimidated to get into, like, I mean, first of all, there's just too many new ones to keep up with at this point.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I tend to stick with things that I like sometimes. Not in, you know, a grander scale, but when it comes to maybe VTubers or like music or whatnot. But I definitely have room in my heart for plenty of new oshis. But you know, the one that got me into VTubing is gonna be my Kami Oshi forever, I think. And that of course is Korone.
Korone!
Yeah.
We love the doggo. We love the doggo. She's great. She was one of my, I would say she was one of my oshis. I have like, I'm looking up, I have like her pop-up parade and one of her official acrylic stands.
Confidence.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah. And I also, one of the reasons why I don't have more Korone merchandise is that I have a stupid rule, which is that for every Korone there must be an Okayu. They cannot be separated because I can't divorce them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I like Okayu well enough. I think she's great. I don't have enough room for more Okayu. I have more Korone, so I think I'm happy with what I got. But I'm really happy with them. Although, can I tell you my tragic Korone story?
Oh no.
With my pop-up parade figure. So, Korone Okayu, I pre-ordered them from the Good Smile shop. Then they arrived a few months later. I never had a pop-up parade figure. I'm not the kind of person that normally has fixed pose figures. I normally have playable action figures that are a bit more, let's just say, they're more rough and tumble. So I was opening the box for Korone, and for some inexplicable reason, it opened the wrong way, and I couldn't grab it on time, and she dove headfirst into the ground. Now, please understand, the distance she traveled cannot have been more than 20 centimeters. It was not that much, but it was enough to snap her head clean off.
No!
Clean off. I think I streamed on that day or something, and I said something like, "I greet you on the day in which I decapitated Hololive Productions Inugami Korone."
Oh my god.
Luckily, I'm a resourceful person. I had some Gorilla Glue. I was gonna try two different fixes. I was gonna try drilling and putting it with my pin vise and putting a pin inside of it. But I didn't have to go that far because the Gorilla Glue held just fine, and if you look at her now, you would never know there was any problems there. So she's fine, and she's lived a happy life, standing there next to a Okayu and next to her own larger, because I have the acrylic stand that is based on the 3D models, and hers, I had to buy it because
because it's
the Kamen Rider,
it's
Kamen Rider Ichigo pose. I had to get it. So
absolutely. Also, Coleman, thank you for the perfectly timed sound alerts.
Yes.
And Captain Hurricane, thank you for having the perfect Kamiyoshi. We're cool. Maybe you were wrongly convicted.
Kamiyoshi? Wait. Ask the Brit and the answer Yorkshire? What?
No. Hurricane said that Korone is their Kami too.
No, I'm just checking their Yorkshire thing. Can't wait for Melon to ask a Brit.
Oh, about their favorite tea.
Oh, it was a tea.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Yorkshire tea. I have like a huge box that I bought a couple of years ago that I'm slowly whittling down. Yeah, Yorkshire tea is fucking mint, mate. What are you talking about? But yeah, Korone is one. It's a bit complicated because like me getting into VTubers was basically Giselle and Skylarka, Giselle and Skylarka came to me at a moment I was very vulnerable. I was not doing well mentally. It was during a lockdown and stuff, and they say, "Hey kid," that's how they talk, right? That's how they sound actually, canonically. They're like, "Hey kid, hey, do you wanna become a VTuber?" And I was like, and they had mentioned like Hololive like about a year prior, and I didn't pay attention because I had as you guys know, I'm like hundreds of years old, and I had a phase where I was like, everything social media new is rubbish. I'm too old for this. And like I've relaxed a lot since then, let's just say. And but the thing that was really, really nice is, this is also my origin story. I'm not gonna go into it too deeply, but like Giselle and Sky were like, you should apply the Hololive with you. You'd be perfect with your stand-up comedy background, and you're very funny in your streams, because I was doing face streams. And I spent like a month working on that audition where I did nothing else. I worked on it full time. I still didn't even get an interview, which is fine. But like, that's how I got into VTubing. But like, I was having like a really rough time. My mom had been diagnosed with, I can say it now because it's 2 years on. She had an aneurysm that she didn't actually have the aneurysm. She was diagnosed with, she was going to have the stroke generated by an aneurysm, and she had to have operation. She's fine, by the way. She's okay. It's 2 years on. She's like 100% healthy. She's totally fine. But like, it was a rough time. I was going through it. And this weekend, you know, during lockdown, they didn't have anywhere to go. They kept showing me clips. And one of the first things that I saw, one of the first of those clips was, which I think Giselle had shown me before, but I you know, didn't pay attention or forgot about it. But it was Corone's classic Super Mario English.
Yes.
Only. And I was like, this is adorable.
That's how we get them.
That's how we get them. It was like the two clips that I remember were like, the ones that got me in was that one and Nyanner's laughing at the "oh hey babe" meme, like "oh hey babe" when the guy shits himself, and kind of going kind of completely insane and off the chain. And I remember that I watched that clip actually. Skylarka sent it to me, and I was like, this is not that funny, but I kind of want to watch it again. And then I watched it again, and I was literally crying laughing. And that's kind of what got me into it. And then I started watching Myth, because Myth were like the latest hotness. It was early 2021. And I was watching Myth, and I was watching Coco, and I was like, oh, holy shit. I understand streaming in a way that I didn't before as a face streamer. I get this now. I get the appeal of streamers and of VTubers. And I was watching a lot of Myth. I went back and I watched all of their early collabs, and I was like, oh, I love this. And yeah, from that, a lot of my taste developed, and I got a lot of oshis. I managed to pick a bunch of oshis at that point, from Hololive, and it was like, I would say at the time, my kami would have probably been Coco. And it was like Coco, Kali, Kiara. Kiara, I would say, is like my favorite one from Myth, and Korone, of course. And then I got into Subaru a lot because I liked how she was like very tomboy looking and very weird. I like her. And that was that kind of for a while. I started watching a lot of indies later. And I've been watching Pomu since near the beginning, but Pomu has kind of slowly become my cameo. Oh, Iron Mouse was another one that I really liked as well. Of course, Kason when she was later reincarnated. But and I've had a bunch of indies that I'm gonna name, like Sapphire, and a few others. But like then Ninja EN came into the scene, and for the first like 6 or 7 months, I was only watching Pomu sporadically. But then last summer, I don't know, something happened to me, a moment of insanity. I don't know. I started watching Pomu again. I missed a lot. I missed a lot of good stuff as it was happening. But I had watched Pomu like a lot in her first month. And I got watching Selene because she was playing the retro Mega Man games, and I love it when VTubers play retro games. And she was playing the Mega Man games from the NES era, which we later found out, like about the time of Mega Man 5, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing with the analog stick."
Oh, like, I need to watch more Selene. She seems great.
She's funny. Like, I love her because she reminds me. I always say the same thing. So sorry, chat, if you've heard me say this a million times. If you're coming from my chat, I love Selene because I used to hang out with the punk girls. I used to be like a dirty street punk that hang out with crusties and went to hardcore shows. And while she's not from that background, her style, her way of speaking, her just like relaxed nature really reminds me of those girls. So that's why I liked her. And then slowly getting back into her and getting into Pomu, I got into the whole Niji Sanji English universe. And while I don't really always keep up with like the latest ones. I don't really watch it.
Those waves feel like they come out like so fast.
They do. But like between like all of the ones that I enjoy, which is basically like, you know, Pomu, Selene, Nina, most of Etheria really. I'm kind of good, and I just love Pomu a lot. Pomu has kind of become my Kamiyashi. So yeah, but I have like a lot. I just watch a lot of different VTubers. I just don't have the time to watch full streams anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like since becoming a VTuber myself, out of love of VTubers, and actually part of my origin was like I was live translating for a few streamers, mostly Krone, and occasionally, you know, dabbling in simping and sending super chats and stuff. And I was using my, you know, same YouTube account that I've had as my human Sona name. And I was like, I feel like I need a different name to go by in these chats. For one thing, everyone is all, and maybe I almost feel like this has gotten better, but people were always like, "Thanks, translator, bro," and I was like, "I'm a girl, am girl."
Yeah,
and like it's fine, and also, you know, it's not like bro can be gender neutral. That's fine. But I was like, I need like a really, especially cute and feminine name, and maybe people will know. And then what if just for kicks I came up with a VTuber persona that would go with that? And then what if I also commissioned a VTuber model? And it, you know, it spiraled. But now I feel like between streaming, it's not like I even stream so often. But then like you make all of your cool VTuber friends and you're watching their streams. And then, you know, Twitch is like such a rabbit hole. I feel like I don't have as much time to watch YouTube streamers, or I feel like I don't have as much time to watch streams, period, because it's not like I even get to catch most of my friends' streams. And I suppose now I'm working backward, but I got into VTubers in 2020, and it was partly because my partner, Mr. Melon, is a teacher, and he was teaching from home, and we were sharing an office at the time. And that was fun in some ways, but it was also, you know, distracting when I'm trying to translate. So I was like, I'm gonna put on something so noisy. And at the time, I was only watching Japanese streamers, because I was like, well, this is somehow slightly less distracting than English streamers. If I watch English streamers while I'm working, and I still do sometimes, but I'm afraid that I will start to type whatever they are saying. Because my brain's pretty smooth, and that can happen. But yeah, then somehow that, when it led to streaming myself and then watching other English VTubers, and now it's just like, I don't know. I have mostly given up on watching streams while I work because I had to admit to myself that it was just like too distracting. But at the time it was, you know, it was like, there's a distraction in the room anyway, so maybe two of them will cancel each other out. That's not necessarily true. I should have just listened to some fucking music like a normal person.
Yeah, I can't. I do that sometimes when I'm at work, but then I realize it's distracting me. Like, I have to, if I'm watching a stream, if I have a stream in the background, it needs to be when I'm doing something like building Gunpla, or I'm like playing a game, or doing something that doesn't require... I'm not going to say that Gunpla does not require focus, but it's a different kind of focus.
No.
Where I can have something in the background, you know? Like, where I can be absorbing information in the background. Whereas, like, if I am like programming or whatever, and I need to be chatting to my team and all of this sort of things, I'm just like, I can't listen to a podcast or anything while I do that, because like what I do requires a lot of thinking, and it's not mechanical, you know? Same with translation. Translation is the same. I couldn't, like, I always, whenever I was subtitling or translating, there's a lot of transcribing involved. And like, I can't listen to anything that has lyrics in it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I will just like accidentally write a word, or it will just confuse me, or so it has to be like instrumental.
That's always been the case for me too. So I really don't know what possessed me to be like, but I can listen to three Japanese women like screaming at each other. I feel like even when I was doing it more often, group collabs it was usually just solo streams that I would watch while I work, because once there's like a conversation going on, they're like talking over each other, and like it's fun to watch if you're not doing anything else, but if you are, my brain just like short circuits really fast.
Yeah, I've become like much more of a person that, I mean, obviously I watch clips, and I know the clips are not always representative. They're a bit more representative. If you're watching clips of an English-speaking streamer, then it's definitely more representative. But also, like, you know, the example of Pomu, sometimes I'll just watch clips. But she's played all the Metal Gear Solid games, right? Because she became a huge Metal Gear fanatic, and she has a lot of those streams. But this amazing Pomu clipper, well, he's a general, I don't know their gender. They are a general Nijizanji English clipper, Nani Wazuni. Shout out to Nani Wazuni, fantastic clipper. I've talked to them. But they've done a series that are like compilations of Pomu's Metal Gear streams, and Nani Wazuni has called it Pomu Gear Solid. And so for each like 3-hour streams, it will be like a 40-minute compilation. And it's like, well, I'm gonna watch that because I don't have the time for the full stream, sadly. But I have time to, like, if I see Pomu live, I'll drop in, simp a bit, say hi Pomu, have a great one. I'll hang out in the Pomudachi Discord, which is pretty great. The Pomu community is really cool. But you know, I can't, you know. And I'm only really, I only started engaging with the Pomu community, not just because I watch Pomu a lot, but because, like, I've been working on this Pomu project. So, like, obviously, I'm engaging in that regard because she's going to become kind of my Kamiyoshi, and I kind of don't really interact with other communities. Because, honestly, I mean, I'm going to say this. Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm sorry, but a lot of the English language Hololive community is trash. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, do you want me to say it? Because that's pretty much what I figured you were gonna say. Some fan communities are just...
The Nijisanji fan community is very big. It's not just one thing, because each liver has their own community. But overall, there's like a lot of like LGBT people involved. A lot of like people of all genders involved. I mean, yes, when I went to the Pomu, when I got a bit known in that community for the project I was doing, and because I had like a fun interaction with Pomu that got clipped by Nani Wazuni, and that's how I talked to Nani Wazuni, and that netted me like 70 followers. Thank you, Nani Wazuni. People immediately assumed that I was a guy, for example, right? And I was like, no, I'm a guil. But like, so there's that assumption. Like, it's the same. If you're like,
it feels like you're on the internet of like a decade ago or like more.
It's just this idea that you can only be into the girl VTubers if you're a guy, and into the boy VTubers if you're a girl. But check it out. I am gay for girls. Also, like, you know, I just watch. I mean, it's kind of weird because it's not like I have any kind of like parasocial attraction to Poma. I think she's really cool. But like, I tend to prefer girl streamers personally.
Me too.
Because I tend to go that way. But you know, it's no slight on the guys. I enjoy Vox sometimes. You know, he's funny. I like Mista. Mista's really funny. Vesper from Holostars is brilliant, amazing. Fellow boomer tuber, even though he's younger than me, but don't tell him. But yeah, my problem with the Hololive fandom is like, yeah, I mean, the Hololive fandom is so huge right now. There's a lot of people like you and I who are, you know, cool and based, and as the kids would say, POC champs. But I'm not always this awkward. I'm trying to be awkward on purpose. But a lot of the Hololive fandom comes from a certain image board.
Yeah.
And they have certain views on the world that, while they might not you know, you don't need to.
You can tell. You can fucking tell.
You can tell their opinions. You don't need to say a slur for me to know the hate speech in your heart.
That you kind of want to, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you don't need to show me a goose step to know that you have a goose step in your brain. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing. Whereas the Nijisanji English fan base is a lot of like LGBT people, probably because there are a lot of out LGBT members of Nijisanji English.
Which is like, definitely something that, you know, I feel like I'm kind of like Hololive trash, and I lean that way because that's just what got me into VTubers, and that's where some of my faves are. But like, Niji is better about that.
Like the only,
at least on the surface, that's what it seems like.
I mean, aside from I can't talk about the Japanese side, but I understand that many members of Niji are like openly queer. I think 2 members of Niji, who are girls, dated for a while. Or are dating.
Crossic. I'm not sure if they're still. I was wondering recently what happened to them, and I wonder if just like the spotlight was a lot on. But I mean, not, you know.
I can't tell you. To speculate. I don't know enough about. Sadly, I don't know enough about Nijisanji Japan because they don't get clipped enough, and I don't speak Japanese, sadly.
There's also very many of them, and this is the other thing that I think, at least initially attracted me more to Hololive, because they've got, you know, generations and like Hololive gamers and ID. I mean, not that Niji doesn't have ID. Well, they don't anymore, do they? But Niji for the Japan side, and like Niji English wasn't a thing when I started watching VTubers. Same. So it was just like, here's 40 fucking VTubers. Yeah. You know, go wild. And I'm like, I'm not sifting through this. I can't. Absolutely. They're all like wildly different styles and everything. Although Hana Makia was one of my first VTubers, and still one of my favorites. Hana Makia is fantastic. I love her. She recently did she had her 3D debut. Yeah. And she did a whole green screen section so that people could make memes. And there's a wonderful Nijisanji fan creator called Tenshi, who makes mashups that make it look like. Do you know Germa? Are you aware of Germa? I'm aware of Germa. So basically, what Tenshi does is that they do like mashups, making it look like Germa's collabing with Nijisanji. And this has gotten the attention of Nijisanji to the point that like several members of Niji, including Hanamakia, have said that they would collab with Germa if they could make it happen. But yeah, there was the most recent Tenshi video used stuff from Hana's 3D debut. But yeah, like that's my thing with Niji. Is like, I can get that it's overwhelming. There's a lot of them. And when I first started watching, it was only Last Light, because I immediately started because one of the first things that Pomu did was play Doom, my favorite game, Doom from 1993, and I was like, this girl knows what's up. She's she's she clearly has a good head on her shoulders if she can recognize a good old game. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was sorry. I also was like immediately drawn to Pamu for a few reasons, but I love that she's into idols and does like wotage and stuff. Yes, she's very, very into idols. Yeah. And she's she almost became an idol herself. Really? And this, she lived in Japan for a while, and before Niji, of course, and she did look into it. She did get she passed an audition to be in a group, and then she pulled out because she was like, this is I don't, basically knowing what she knew about idols, she kind of realized that she how can I put it, that it was not gonna be a good idea for her to do it, essentially, because and knowing what I know, it does make sense. It's a lot of work, it's very difficult, and also I know that Pomu, before starting with Niji, had a lot of health issues, so I also could have played into it. But yeah, just what I was gonna say is that the Hololive fanbase problem is like, there's several issues, because there's also like, on the Japanese side, I understand that there's like the issues, like the idol fandom issues, but in terms of like queerness and Hololive, there's only one member that I'm aware of that is out in any way,
but has obviously not used any identifying labels because I know that that's like a different story in Japan culturally. But Matsuri said that she's dated boys and girls.
Really? Somehow I hadn't actually heard that. That's amazing.
But she said it like once.
Mm-hmm.
But once is all it takes, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Matsuri's the only one. And then of course I personally believe, and I don't think this is copium chat, I personally believe Korone and Okai are dating because simply like the way they behave towards each other does not feel put on in any way, and it feels extremely it's a very gay dynamic.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in my personal opinion.
Oh my god, I mean, don't even get me started on Okakoro. I love it so much. Yeah. And it's also like, you know, I'm like, it's not my business, and it's not, you know, it's such a weird line, because they're real people and they're not, you know. They've said before that they like that, you know, they're all in favor of Okakoro shippers and all that. But yeah, it was pretty much that dynamic that I was like, I would like to make a comic about about fictional corporate VTubers who get along and are dating or end up dating probably.
I'm sure you probably don't need anything like this, but I have a playlist on YouTube I can share with you called Okakoro Tete, which is basically a compilation of clips of Okakoro being extremely gay and cute. So
yeah,
pass it on.
I mean, please do. I've probably seen a lot of it, but because when I say that Korone got me into VTubers, what really tipped me over was Okakoro. They did a collab of a cover of a Nichijou opening together, and Nichijou is the series that got me started as a translator, actually. So it was like two gay-ass girls with matching designs singing this song that is like precious to me. Goodbye everyone. What is the meme again? Like, this is all I'm gonna talk about for the next, except it's like 3 years.
Yes. I
unfriend me right now, or something like that.
Unfriend me right now, yeah. I sent you the playlist, the Okakoro Tete.
Yay!
Playlist.
Oh, I recognize the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, you've probably seen all of the clips, but it's also good to have them in one place because like sometimes I'm on a rainy day and I'm like, you know what? I need this. I need to watch Okakoro being cute. I need to know that somebody is happy somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah, like in terms of Niji, in terms of like, and I'm sure I'm gonna miss someone because I don't keep up with all the members. But as far as I know, Pomu is bi. Pomu is talking about dating a girl. Finana is very, very, very bi and very, very talks a lot about sex and stuff. Talks a lot about, which I really love because Finana is like one of the like cuter like sounding. She's the one that you would expect to be the most say so because she's like incredibly adorable voice, like, you know, precious, and she talks about vibrators a bunch. She's very funny. Look up Finana's egg. And then, in terms of others, okay, I'm not going to talk about rumors. I'm going to talk others that are out that I know. Uki Violeta is gay. He's a gay man. And Yugo, of course, was the graduated Yugo was trans mask, and I think bi as well. And also I know that a lot of them are non-binary, but that's not like an official thing. That's not something that they are as Niji Sanji members. I just know. Let's just say that I know a lot about the world. Leave it at that. But yeah, so with all that information, the fact that a lot of them are openly LGBT, and also the fact that a lot of them are not openly, they were open in their past lives as LGBT. Knowing all of that, it makes sense that it's a much more kind of progressive kind of fan culture, I would say, in general. But you know, and I don't want to diminish Hololive because like I love Hololive. That's how I got started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean there are so many wonderful Hololive fans, and I'm in like a Korone fan Discord, and they're all really wonderful. And have like rules that I'm like, oh good, okay, we're cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, when I first started getting into watching VTubers, I watched Pikami pretty much from when she started streaming. But I fell off of watching her streams partly because the vibe in chat got weird, man. Like, even long before
the dumb controversy stuff from this.
Yeah. I think, and I don't wanna this is truly becoming a tea party in that we are spilling tea.
Gossiping.
Yeah.
Spilling the tea.
This does seem appropriate. You know, as long as it doesn't go in a negative direction, that is fine with me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, you know. But
yeah, I want to ask you about
I
that.
was not
after
surprised that she maybe wanted to move on from that identity, because even beyond, aside from my own like feelings about the fan base or whatever, I got the impression, like, when she put out the Isekai Pikami model, like, obviously I liked her original model better, but I also felt like maybe she didn't want to just be like the meme kettle funny girl. Like, she also wants to be cute and like, you know. So I hope that I hope that she finds that wherever she might be.
Wink. Sorry.
Yes.
Wink. Wink. I can't say I'm a huge fan of her reincarnated model in terms of design, but it's fine. I wasn't like a huge fan. I liked Pikami well enough. Like, I watched a bunch of her. I honestly got much more into like the work that Gyari was doing before Bombs, because I got into a bunch of those videos in 2021. But I like Pikami well enough. But yeah, I'm not surprised now. I now understand a little bit. I think like Pikami is like, there's a lot of like VTubers that get, a lot of Japanese VTubers that get a certain audience of certain message boards because they are seen as like cute and inoffensive, right? They're like cute and inoffensive, but crazy and unhinged enough that the edgelords of certain message boards latch onto them, you know?
And then they kind of project their everything.
Yeah, because of their extremely, I gotta say, twisted and reductionist and racist views of what Japan is as this land of far-right waifus, basically. It's sickening. As someone that has never been to Japan, but I try to be as informed as I can. And also, let's be real. Let's be adults. There's no place that is perfect. There's no, like, most places are crap, man. Most places are crap.
They're just like, crap in interesting new ways. That look from the outside like better. It might be better in some ways, but probably worse in fun new ways that you're not even like thinking of.
Yeah, like I often think about this when I let's just say that I can't talk about this too openly because this is not something public, but I've read some private memoirs of an individual who is a white American and lived in Japan for a long time. And let me tell you, a lot of these message board kids would have a lot of fun with how often when you're in that situation, the police wants to stop you. And sometimes interrogate you violently for no reason because you're foreign.
Yeah, Japanese police can also just like take someone in for questioning and like nobody knows where they went for like days because they don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to say. Starts panicking at the thought that it sounds like I'm saying, you know, police here are better. But there's no police in Melonia Forest, so it's fine.
Nice. But just without getting political. Japan, fascinating place, not perfect. Just like nowhere is perfect.
Yeah.
You know? And Japan has a lot of good things going for it, obviously, right? Like, I mean, we're here, right? Like, and we're like, you know, you're a translator. I am surrounded by Japanese cultural production in my own house, you know? Obviously, I don't have a problem. But, like, yeah, it's a complicated issue, and the internet, as we know, kills nuance.
Yeah, did my connection just get wacky for a second? I saw a red square that I don't like to see.
Oh no.
Are we good? I think we're good.
Let me check.
Twitch itself was like, roll it back, people.
Yeah.
Fine. That's fine.
All this is just crap. Yeah.
Hi,
But
hello.
anyway, yeah. Hi, hello. Hoo, aho. Hoo.
Do you know Hoo?
No, I'm trying to say the name.
Y'all should. She's also a VTuber. She's wonderful.
Hello.
I was just thinking of Hoo actually because that is like Finland seems pretty great. I don't know, but I'm sure there's just other problems there. That are yeah.
I remember so one of the things that came up in this memoir is that this person
oh my god,
no worries.
the cops are in my Wi-Fi.
I'm not gonna revisit that. I don't want to. But
yeah.
what I will say is that this guy that I'm talking about, in the early 2000s, he was like in poverty for a while and was homeless in Tokyo and stuff, and still had a lot of issues like finding accommodation and finding a job, and for ages was like very poor. And he talks a lot about like poverty in Japan in the early part of this memoir. And again, it's not something I can share, but like I remember I was telling my mom about this. And my mom, just so you know, grew up very, very like poor working class in Uruguay. And when I told her about like poverty and unemployment in Japan, she was like, I didn't know they had that. And I'm like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't they? And she's like, but it's a wealthy country. And I'm like, Mom, you've now lived in Europe for a while and you've seen what it looks like here. Like you live in Italy, which is a rich country, and yet it has a lot of poor people because there's poor people everywhere. Because you know. It's reality, you know. There's poor people. This is great. All these issues are everywhere, so it's not a single country. They're just different in different countries. But moving on from that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too political.
Well, I was gonna say earlier.
We're talking about
I feel like I've always had an interest in idols, even though the culture is complicated. I think that also gets kind of reduced to like, oh, it's so toxic for these reasons, and like, yes, sure, but there's also like indie idols, and there's things that are improving, and it's not just like that one girl who was made to shave her head like 10 fucking years ago. So like I have friends who are really passionate about idols and like introduced me to more of that concept. But I never personally got, like, incredibly into it because I don't know. I like fiction and I like art, and I think it's easier for me to fixate on a 2D character and not feel weird about it. And that is not to say that, like, K-pop stans or anyone with a celebrity bias or crush or anything are, like, wrong. It's just, like, not what works for me, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of similar.
So, like, that, then when I stumbled on Love Live, when I was also, like, in sort of a, not at the same situation, but I was in school and having a stressful time, and that's when the Love Live anime came out, the very first season, and oh boy, did I latch on to that. And I was like, well, this is great, because they're idols, but they're also 2D, and so they won't, first of all, they can't just get
3D. Sorry.
Yeah, and sometimes oh man,
the original is kind of, the 3D is not super.
Oh, when you go back to it now, especially, it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
especially after Sunshine, you're like, oof.
It was such a big upgrade in Sunshine. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just.
You remind me, I need to finish Superstar. Anyway.
Yeah, I need to finish my Sunshine rewatch before the Yohane spin-off. That is so like, excited. Oh my god!
I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm watching. So I'm currently so with my VTuber wife Sonami Kan, we currently meet up once a week to watch anime and toku. And what we do is we watch. We're watching Wish from Mercury. We're watching Osama Sentai King Goja, which is the current Super Sentai, which is, by the way, fucking great. And it's really funny. It's so fucking funny. And we're watching Love Live Sunshine. We just started season 2. And she doesn't know the spoilers, and I make sure not to spoil it, because every time I show this show to a friend of mine, I want to see if they cry at the same points that I do. And I'm always fascinated when my friends cry at different points. It's always fascinating.
I probably cry in all of them.
Like when I watched it, I rewatched it last year. Okay, I mean, I think it's better if I just like tell my story with Love Live, my history with Love Live. Because yeah, I'm the same with you. Like, so okay, I am someone that used to be involved in, like, I was a goth, and then I was a hipster, and then I was a punk. So I've had like a life in music scenes. When I was a punk, it was really funny because like I was listening to, like, all of my friends were listening to like hardcore, to like noise and hardcore, and that really kind of those genres. And I've always been a person that likes music. Like, I consider, how do I put this? I like music that is instrumental, and I like music that has words. But my preference is something that combines the good lyricism, good rhymes with good music. Like, I like folk punk, and like one of my favorite bands is the Mountain Goats, who are, I wouldn't say they're folk punk, but they're like alt country, I guess, if there's a genre there. Pro-choice country, there you go. And I was getting to like folk punk and like other like queer punk, queer hip hop, and I was listening to that music a lot. And then as I started distancing myself from some communities and from activism, not because my beliefs changed, but because a lot of those communities are toxic. But check it out, you know what, honey? It's possible to be into those communities and to be part of those communities and believe those progressive things, then distance yourself from them because you're alienated and not become a right-wing grifter. It's entirely possible.
Weird.
I have the proof. Weird, right? But without getting into, I get too much.
With this one weird trick.
Like, with this one weird trick, like all throughout, like ever since I was a teenager, I've listened to like anime and anime video game soundtracks. Like when people ask me, like when I talk about music I used to listen to, and I talk about the hipster stuff and the punk stuff, people assume that I was my teenage years. No, my teenage years were spent listening to the Evangelion and Final Fantasy soundtracks. That's what I listened to almost exclusively, and Ray Earth, and a bunch of other stuff. And so I was always adjacent to J-pop without knowing a lot about it. And then so I never got into like idols that much. I liked some Japanese musicians that I knew through anime or through other things. I learned how to research stuff a bit. So I learned, for example, a lot of interesting stuff around anime music production. Like, for example, the fact that a lot of really good anime would have a soundtrack by someone that doesn't do anime soundtracks. And they just hired them for this one time. Like, my favorite one is Gundam 0080 has a very distinct kind of synth rock soundtrack. And if you look the guy up, he only did like 3 anime because he was like a guy who had a band and did a bunch of films, and they just got him in because he was very prestigious and he was really good and a really good fit. But he's not an anime soundtrack guy. And so I learned to kind of cross-reference stuff like that. But then I go to Love Live, and I watched Love Live during the first COVID lockdown, because I needed something. Gisela Scalarca, who poisoned my brain with VTubers. Before that, they poisoned my brain with Love Live. And I needed something light to watch at the time. Something that was easy to watch. And all I wanted from Love Live Sunshine is for it to be, original Love Live. All I needed from it, like, Gisela and Scalarca were like, you should watch Sunshine. And I was like, but I want to watch the original. I want to see the first one. And all that I needed from it was for it to be just nice and fun. You know, just nice and fun. And not ask a lot of me. And it is that, but it's also more.
Yeah.
I think what got me into Love Live is that it was fun. It was like, it had a musical kind of aspect. It's got fun characters and good beats. But what got me staying in Love Live was realizing that they could do a lot with that format narratively. And that it had a lot to say, especially Sunshine in my opinion, about the creative process and motivations towards creativity.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me in Love Live. That it's a show
it's
where,
true.
yes, maybe you don't see them sew every costume, but you see them sweat as they raise their stamina, as they like are constantly exercising, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, they're always, and there's so much like, it's because we love school idols. And I'm like, I mean, that's very specific, but you could apply that to any, you know, love of music or art or streaming or whatnot. It really is the perfect thing for, like, every time I need to reignite my passion, there's another new fucking season of Love Live. Because there's too many at this point. I'm sorry. I can't support all of these daughters. Like, I'm gonna... Someone please help. Who is good at the economy?
Who's good at the economy? But yeah, like so I watched the original. I watched the 2 seasons and the movie. And then in 2021, as I had just moved to the place where I live right now, and as I was already decided to become an indie VTuber, and it was still 6 months before I debuted, but I decided to watch Love Live Sunshine. And it hit me like 10 times more than the original. And I like the original quite a bit. My favorite character from Love Live, from the entire franchise, is still Rin from the original series. She's still my Oshi. I absolutely adore her. But like Sunshine, I'm at a point now where I have some girls that I like more than the others, but I just love them all. I just love all of them, like all 9 of them, because they're such great characters, so well developed, and so gay. God damn it.
Gosh, yeah, I feel like,
especially,
I was, Muse are my forever girls, and they're, like, my favorites, and they're what got me into Love Live, and also maybe through college, but I feel like, objectively, Sunshine is maybe a better structured show, and is definitely, like, more overtly gay, so that's...
Oh, yeah, well,
that's always
Sunshine
good.
has a different lead writer, who is... I always tell this to people, who's if you look at I think it's like lead writer and series composition, and if you look at, I'm pretty sure it's a guy, if you look at his list of works, his other prominent works include series composition and script writing for the Blooming to You anime.
That tracks.
And a bunch of other Yuri anime. I think maybe Adachi Shimamura? I don't know. I can't remember. But basically this person has done a bunch of Yuri anime. So I was not... Yeah, I do admit, the first time I watched Sunshine, I wasn't seeing it. And I wasn't seeing it because I was fresh off of reading Yuri manga that was much more
right, yeah.
And I couldn't see it. But now that I'm more used to Yuri and much more used to, like, subtlety, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like 100%. It's designed. They do it in Love Live Sunshine in such a way that it's plausible deniability, because it's a mainstream sunrise anime with a huge commercial aspect. But if you watch, if you know what to look for, you know what to look for, and it's very, very obviously there. It's just plausible deniability, friendship, whatever. But come on, I'm gonna spoil a bit of this show, but it's like 5 years old. In the movie, one of the plot lines is to hide a girl from her mom because her mom wants to marry her off to a dude. And the girls hiding her are the girls that she's been hanging around with all her life, who they're kind of gay. They're very
oh my
gay.
God.
They're very, very gay.
Yeah.
They're very, very gay. So, like, yeah, I've been watching Sunshine. I guess I'm making it a yearly tradition. Last year I watched it with a different friend. This year I'm showing it to Sano. Next year, who knows? Maybe I'll watch it on my own. But I find that it's great to rewatch it because it always reconnects me to that time when I was preparing to be a VTuber. And it has so much to say about... that I think is better than the original series in this regard, about like how the possibility and reality of failure as a creator, failure to find success, or even you find success in one way that you didn't want or need, and you didn't find it in the objective that you had, that doesn't make your effort worthless or your creation worthless. And that if you put real passion and real effort into something, then that's worthwhile on its own, but also that it requires a lot of effort. And I don't know, there's just like a lot there about creating as a group, about being a creator, about like your motivations, about like looking up to others, but not letting, because there's like an entire...
But not just trying to like emulate them, perfectly.
Yeah, because the show addresses something that I've heard is a concern from people that watched the original and then didn't pay a lot of attention to Sunshine, who are like, oh, it just seems like more of the same. And the show addresses that. The show starts off feeling like it's the same thing. Then by the end of season 1, not only the season has demonstrated that it's completely different, but the girls themselves have addressed this in universe, in the sense of we look up to Muse, we try to figure out what made Muse special to find out what makes us special, and then we realize that that's an that's a pointless thing to attempt, because what made them special is not what's gonna make us special, because we're not them. We're not them. They have their own thing, and if we're constantly trying to follow in their footsteps, all we're gonna be is someone else's dream done badly. And that is, again, as someone that took a lot of heartfelt inspiration from people like Kali and Kiara and Korone and Coco, and later Pomu and stuff. As someone that takes inspiration, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to compare yourself to others, but at the same time, like, I draw inspiration. I draw a lot of inspiration from people. I sometimes find myself saying things the way that my oshis say it by accident. Like, when I get a follow, I sometimes go, thank you, which is what Celine says. And I'm like, no, I catch myself every time because I just watch her a bunch, and it's just like, it's good to be inspired, and it's great to have inspirations, but also you have to let that push you towards finding your own way as a creator, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's totally a very applicable message for the VTuber scene, because it's so easy to feel like you have to emulate the often corporate VTuber oshis who, like, in addition to they are, they're special because they're them and you have to find your own thing, they also have a fuck ton of resources that you don't. So you can't compare yourself in many ways. And I feel the same way because, like, I'm so different from any of my oshis, I feel like. And they're, at first, for, like, the briefest of moments, I don't think I even kept it up throughout my debut, but, like, I wanted to maybe, do, like, a slightly cuter voice and, like, be sort of upbeat and cute and energetic and whatever. Because, like, of course I want to be cute. But I quickly just found that, like, it doesn't work for me, and I think people also prefer the more authentic version. Not that, you can't, like, do a voice if you're a VTuber. And sometimes I'm still, like, actually, I don't know. Like, there might be 10%, like, phone voice, like the, when you pick up a hello, and you're just, like, each raising an octave every time, like, oh, no problem. Okay,
totally cool.
Like, so sometimes that comes out, but I'm not really, faking my voice or personality all that much, because I think when I watch other streamers, I like, and, when I watch my oshis, I mean, I don't even, I would love to know what it sounds like when Korone is, like, just speaking in everyday life, because I suspect it's not exactly the same, but she has such a distinctive, accent and tone.
But from my observation, I feel like, I mean, talking just about talking about VTubers in general. I mean, there's a lot of people that you can tell it's just like their real self. But there's a lot of, especially I would say on the Japanese side, I have seen a lot of them that are very good at, like, playing up a character and playing up a specific voice. I mean, no, even in the English side as well, I would say. And I really respect that. That they're able to, like, keep that up. I've seen it in a lot of indies as well. For myself, I think I have a problem with consistency, and I don't know how observable this is, but I know that it's in my head, and it's very hard for me to abstract myself from my head. But okay, let me put it this way: when I started as a VTuber, I was doing this voice constantly. I was doing this voice because I wanted to sound cuter, and I wanted to be more appealing. And I mean, I am, okay, I'm gonna stop doing it. I am an energetic person. I am an energetic person. I am like, I gesticulate. This is why I want to have a 3D model, or a model with, like, hand motion capture, because I am someone that gesticulates all the time, because I'm from Latin America. I'm part Italian. We gesticulate. It's just what we do. But, like, like, at the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna be say-so, and I'm not gonna curse, and I'm gonna say, like, fake curses like heck. And it was funny, and it was like pouring into my real life, where I was saying heck instead of
I kind of did that too.
Yeah, and I did it because, like, for me, my original idea was that because I am based on tokusatsu superheroes, children's superheroes.
Mm.
Even though the ones I'm based on are specifically ones from the 80s. I was like, well, those are like all ages shows, and I should, it should be okay for all ages to watch my streams. But then I, as a creator, slowly started finding that restrictive. And there was another, like, one side of it was that I found it restrictive in terms of what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to say and how I wanted to express myself and how authentic I wanted to be, because I wanted to be like Maru, like who you see right now in front of you. Maru is a persona and not a character, and the distinction between that is that a persona is a presented, elevated version of yourself, or like a specific presentation of yourself. Like you could argue you have a persona towards every different person in your life. You present yourself in slightly different ways. This is like a known kind of thing. But Maru is not a character, and this is the problem this is why I've had a problem knowing what to do with Sube, my in-canon sister, because Sube is a character. She's not a persona. And I don't know how to improvise playing a character, because while I've done a lot of stand-up and stuff like that, I don't have a lot of improv experience, and it's not something I necessarily do. I want to explore that at some point, but yeah. So like, and then the other problem, which I think for me is more important, is the voice issue. So I have a lower voice than than what people consider to be the average for women.
Some
I
people
can make my voice
like that.
some, yeah. Oh yeah, totally, absolutely. I'm glad you do. But like, yeah.
Actually, I'm so sorry. Can you hold that thought for 1 second? You know what they say about tea? Do you mind if we take like a 2-minute break? Because I definitely want to talk more about this. But I'm actually also like out of tea and water, so I might need to do a quick refresh.
I am the other way around. I have too much tea in
I have
some of it needs to come out.
I have kind of both problems simultaneously. So
okay, let's
go. We'll be right back,
I'll be right
folks.
We'll be right back. Okay, back in.
That should be good, I think. We're back.
Hello.
Excuse the technical difficulties.
Yes.
While I was up, my cats were like, "Oh good, you're here. We have an urgent problem. We haven't had food since lunch. Like 2 hours ago."
How many cats do you got?
2.
Nice.
Their names are Majora and Castor.
Cool.
They're oh yeah, I have to post some pictures of them later on the Discord.
Still.
But yeah, anyway, you got more tea? We're
I
ready to
got
spill
some
more
royal
tea.
milk tea. Let's go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's
I
good
get it in a sachet.
Yeah, I have actually. That's a good idea. I have like the strawberry flavored ones.
Oh,
Like
nice.
a little powder. I'm like, I don't know if there's even caffeine in this, but I'm gonna drink it.
Yeah, I have no idea. But we were talking about voice, and I was saying that like I have a kind of like lower than average kind of voice, and but like I have a voice range that it's actually fairly big, but it like tends lower, and I can even do like dude voice if I want, if I choose to, like which I might eventually down the line. I am considering. I am kind of batting around ideas about making a male Sona, making a male version of Maru. Now, sadly, I was gonna name him Mario because I have a Spanish language name, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was Mario de Cinque, which is like in Italian? But then, like, everyone is because my audience is English speakers. Y'all only know Mario from Super Mario.
There is only
It's
one
a
Mario, yeah,
It's
which
a really
is unfortunate.
common name. It's a really common name, and so like.
Yeah, it's
I
the
might
name
need
of
to
all
come
the
up with
guys who
something
make
else.
pizza also. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
very ignorant. That's just the image in America,
yeah.
I guess.
But I was like, oh, I can definitely be an Ikemen. I have like that Ikemen Maru like that I posted on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it. That was like it was like again using one of those character creators.
I think so.
Just to like start sketching it and I made the kind of person that I think it would be like me as a male. It's like kind of bratty, kind of slutty, thinks he's a top, he's not. But if I want, I can really try to have a deeper voice. I'm not trying to be Corp's husband, but I can sound like Vox Akuma, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
So yeah, thank you. But the thing is, like, I had done some singing training and some voice training years ago. Like, but then when I was doing my Hololive audition, a friend of mine happens to be a professional musician and singing instructor, and I'm actually hopefully gonna go back to him after my dissertation is over, now that I have a lot of more financial stability. But the main thing that I learned was not just like a lot of technique about singing, but when you're learning that, you inherently start to learn a lot about, because he was very good. He was all about like technical stuff, but in a way that is like understandable. And I started understanding all of the muscles that were involved, all the different parts that are involved. Like, turns out the fact that we can speak and sing is incredibly physiologically complicated and fascinating. There's so much involved in it. And there's much more control that you can learn to have than you think. And, yeah. And
I would like to learn more about that. Also, sorry,
really
chat.
cool.
Let me know if the audio levels got borked from being away.
Oh yeah, chat. Let us know.
It
But
looks
yes,
like
and,
everything's coming through, but if it's
okay, that's good. Yeah. But yeah, and so like between not just for singing, and I'm not like in any way a professional level singer. I still make a lot of mistakes, and I'm hope to rectify them when I go back to classes. Everything's fine. Okay, thank you. But it's like but I feel I have more control. My problem with keeping up the cutesy VTuber voice, my problem with keeping my voice up here is not a problem of like, I can literally do this for hours. I have done it for hours. That is not the problem. The problem is that I have pretty strong ADHD, and just like maintaining a voice like that,
I was gonna say that's my problem also.
I just naturally drop. And even when I'm like streaming, and like this is kind of, I would say this is like my normal like level of voice. But then sometimes I'm just like, hey Chad, how's it going? Yeah, I'm just I don't know, because I just relax, just relax and talk about whatever. Because in my real life, I just talk whatever way I want. I'm just a weirdo. I'm a weirdo with no class. So
yeah, in
I'm
real
just
life, I
blah,
mostly
just
don't
whatever.
talk to anyone. Or
Okay.
at least a lot
I
of
talk a
times when
lot.
I'm except for my partner. That makes it sound worse than it is. I have friends.
I
But
have friends.
I just
definitely
mean a
have
lot of
friends.
times, when I'm streaming, it might be the first time I've said anything all day.
Oh, I mean,
Especially now that
same.
I'm streaming earlier in the day. But yeah, it's mostly just an attention thing. I just forgot like immediately and repeatedly, and I was like, at this point, we'll just roll with whatever voice is coming out.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like when people, I mean, I admire people that can keep up like a character, right? That's really really cool. I also know for a fact that like the big corpus, the big two, Niji and Hollow, there is a part like when you get in, basically like they try to figure out like what kind, because they're trying to assign you a VTuber model, and so they're trying to figure out what kind of personality traits you would have as a VTuber. So there is an aspect of like character to it. There's like a bit of an aspect of that. Like I know for a fact, for example, that Pomu's voice is like a bit less cutesy IRL. I know for a fact that that's the case for a lot of them.
That makes sense.
And it's fine, it's fine. But at the same time, it's about kind of threading that needle, you know what I mean? And also, I feel, I gotta say, if this was the only thing that I did in my life, if all I did in my life was VTubing, I could put a lot more effort into doing that, right? I could put a lot more effort into, okay, I'm going to do a specific voice to a specific character all the time, right? But when it's just something that you're doing part-time and it's not even a job because it hasn't gotten to that point yet, then it's like, then it's just like a case where you're like, well, then it doesn't necessarily, all it's really doing is stressing me out. All it's really doing is like taking a lot of my brain power away that I could use in different parts of this creative process. So, and ever since like I started relaxing more and being like, yeah, because I also had like an idol branding early on, and I still want to have that, but I want to get to a point where I have like so many covers I want to make and so many things I want to make, and I feel like once my degree is done, and once a few other things that I want to get out of the way are done, I'll be able to like dedicate myself much more to the VTubing side. And so at that point, I may bring back that branding. But right now, I softly rebranded to being more like kind of punk tomboy kind of style. But yeah, so it's like I don't necessarily like feel like I owe people to sound a certain way. And I only ever got one person saying shit about it in chat, like ever. I mean, people do ask me what my gender is, and I'm like, I'm a girl. I don't know. Like, I've met girls, cis or trans, that sound very high or very low. It's not,
Yeah.
So I don't know. People can be weird about this.
Yeah.
People can be very weird about this. Yeah. I need to open the window again. It's gonna warm here again. I'm going crazy. I think it's because the sun is out and the guns are out. So.
It's
guns out.
like an awkward time of year.
Yeah.
Part of while I was gone, I was basically like readjusting for like switched from leggings to not leggings. Because it also like stays cool in my house for much longer than it does outside. But yeah, I also kind of like, and I think that a lot of people go through this where even corporate VTubers, it's hard to judge anyone off their debut because 6 months in they might sound and act like totally different.
Oh yeah. Like Kali's a great example. Kali was like, in her first anniversary, she did a watch along of her debut, and I mean, I feel she was a bit too harsh on herself because she was like, oh, you're cringe, dude. You're cringe. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. You're so cringe. Because she was going like, hello, I'm Calliope Mori. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, it was a bit cringe, but it's okay. You know, you were trying to figure it out.
They
and
were
also,
doing
Callie, yeah. Also, Callie was not a VTuber beforehand, so
yeah,
it's okay. It's okay, you know.
Yeah, I honestly initially at least did not. The only Hollow Myth member that I follow really closely is Ina.
I like Ina.
And I think I might have a double standard where it's less distracting to me when a Japanese or like any non. I think this is a thing that a lot of people have where like a non-native language inherently sounds like cooler to you. But then if somebody's doing the same thing in your own native language, sometimes it's like, ooh, that's a bit cringe. But like I have, Japanese friends who are like, yeah, I don't watch anime because their like voices are all cringe as hell. And I'm like, I can't relate. Yeah. But also like, I can totally see how that's probably the case. And I probably also sound cringe when I speak Japanese just because, but that's, but... Yeah,
that's my
so
thing. Like when I learn Japanese, my thing is I don't want to learn anime Japanese. I want to learn actual Japanese that people speak. Because I know that like anime has a specific cadence.
It really does, and it's very noticeable. And I notice it in my own Japanese speech sometimes. I think that, and not that you should take this as your sole source either, but I do think that watching a lot of Japanese VTubers has been helpful for keeping up with like current Japanese slang and stuff. And obviously they still speak not exactly like real people, but I do feel like,
I mean, it's more natural, it's more relaxed.
Yeah, it's a lot more natural when they're either like conversing or they're not reading from a script. So even if they're doing a character, it's still more natural than any like anime dialogue is gonna be.
I'm at a point where I can, I'm at a point where when I'm watching Japanese media, like while my language skills are very, very basic, like extremely basic, like I couldn't carry a conversation probably. I feel
like you'd be surprised, but but then again,
I can pick up on the acting a lot, and it's like, so for example, like okay, a very good example, like Love Live, like never sounds natural. Love Live dialogue never sounds natural. I think I started noticing it when I started watching J-dramas. And again, J-dramas is not how people speak in real life, but it's like, depending on the J-drama, it's like a bit closer in terms of like, I'm not talking about slang. Yeah, I'm not talking about slang or word choice. I'm talking specifically about the way the dialogue, the tone and the kind of general like intonation, enunciation and intonation and stuff like that. And so for example, I noticed that one of the things that I really liked about the underrated 2021 gem SSSS Dyna Xenon was that what I really, really liked, and this is something that Gridman did a bit, but Dyna Xenon I think did it better. The main two teenage characters talk in a kind of awkward way that doesn't quite feel anime-like to me, because it feels much more like a J-drama. It feels a bit more naturalistic. It's a bit, kind of sentences trail off a bit more, and it's all a bit, there's like a bit of mumbling involved and a bit of like the kind of flow of like more natural language where people interrupt themselves a bit more, they don't let, it's not like each character makes a statement, what I mean, and there's like a bit more of that kind of feel. And obviously not every anime is the same, but yeah, Dyna Xenon kind of had that for its teenage characters that I really liked. It felt more grounded in that sense, which really, really worked for the show. And the other one is that, so I watched a lot of tokusatsu, and tokusatsu of different eras and of different companies, of different franchises, it has its own tone. I would say, like, for example, the current Sentai King Gojer, it's like watching an anime in terms of how they speak. Because it's very over the top, it's very elevated, and that's fine because it's what it's trying to be. It's trying to be completely over the top and ridiculous. But there's some toku that's done in a more naturalistic sense. There was like a big trend in early 2000s Kamen Rider, where they were very much inspired by J-dramas, and that's kind of how they brought Kamen Rider back originally. That like the early Kamen Rider Kuga, Kamen Rider Hibiki, those shows look a lot like J-dramas with toku elements in terms of how they are written and acted and structured. And so like in Kamen Rider Hibiki, like Hibiki doesn't show up to fight the monster of the week and go like, you know, I am Kamen Rider Hibiki, Henshin, I will defeat you today, or blah blah blah. It's like, oh, I guess this is happening now. I guess we're doing this, you know, whatever. It's just like there's no like this declarative over the top language, because Kamen Rider Hibiki is a show that is actually about a high school boy who is not even a Kamen Rider growing up, and he has a big brother figure who is Hibiki, and they just talk about life and how difficult it is to grow up, and they're kind of awkward and kind of talk a bit more like they feel to me like they talk more like real people. And that's not a diss on anime, because I love anime, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah, most of the time it
know,
does not sound like real people. And like it, you know, nor does it have to, and it's not like real people in America sound like they do on like sitcoms or whatever. But yeah, somehow there's like a yeah, it's like a weird, right, like what Huhu is saying. I'm not very critical of voices in Japanese, and I'm much more critical of them in English. Oh right, even though they're both, wow, y'all are amazing with your more than 2 languages. Every time I try to learn, I know a tiny bit of Russian, and I used to know a tiny bit of French. And every time I try to study a 3rd language, it just gets overwritten by Japanese. Like, as soon as I'm reaching for a word and I don't know it, the Japanese just jumps out. And I think it's probably because it's, you know, my job.
Yeah, I have the cheat code that I got is that my first language is Spanish and Italian is in the same language family. That's I also did French in school, and I started watching Toku because it was being shown in Brazilian television, so I watched that in Portuguese. So I don't speak Portuguese. I wouldn't say that I speak French, but I can read and understand both languages. I can speak more French. I can speak some French. I can't speak any Portuguese. But I can listen to them and I can kind of grasp them. You know, I can even read. I can read newspapers in Catalan, a language I've never learned, because it's so closely related to all these languages I know. But that's the cheat code. Like, I tried to learn German, and that was a no-go. I tried. I did my best. It didn't work. You know.
Yeah, I tried to study Korean for a while, and I am interested in doing that, but it's actually so close to Japanese that somehow it just gets more confusing for my brain.
That's my problem with Italian, and like, because Italian is extremely close to Spanish, and so it's very easy to there's a lot of words that are the same word, clearly the same word in both languages. It's sometimes even down to the spelling, and then sometimes just down to like that they sound very similar, but they can have different meanings, or the word might not exist in the other language. And it's just, I'm trying to think of an example, like, you know, like the word stupid, right? It's it all comes from the same Latin root actually, as the word in English, because English is a weird mongrel language, but like in Italian it's stupido, and in Spanish it's estúpido, right? But then, for example, in Italian, incidente, I'm gonna double check this, because this is something I need to double check, because again, you know, don't want to. Incidente doesn't mean incident. It can mean incident in some situations, but mainly it means accident. Whereas in Spanish, incidente means incident, and accidente means accident. And accidenti means something else in Italian. So it's like, there's a lot of, this is what is called false friends when you learn a language. That is like words that you think that you know what they mean, but
Japanese has plenty of those.
Yeah, like, I mean, another perfect example for me is, because again it comes from Latin roots, it's the words in English, the words the word sympathetic with simpático, completely different meanings. Sympathetic means that you relate to somebody, that you feel for them, for what they're going through,
right?
And you have sympathy for that. Whereas being simpático, having the quality of having sympathy in Spanish, that means that you're a nice and nice, lovely person to be around. That you're like charming. Sensible and sensitive are two separate words in English, but they're both kind of covered by the word sensible in Spanish. And there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Those are false friends.
Well, that's a good one, because sensitive is also kind of a false friend in Japanese, where it's like, on the surface, it seems like it means the same thing, but it has a different nuance. And then it's really funny, because in, like, VTubing, through English VTuber fandom, it has kind of come around in a weird way that people start using the word in English with the Japanese meaning. Like, you'll see clips that are like, Marin lets out a sensitive voice during gameplay or something. And, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense from if you're just looking at native English, but in Japanese, sensitive is more like, potentially, lewd, I guess, to use the VTuber fandom's favorite word. Or just... It can be the same as sensitive, as in the sense of, like, potentially... Of course, I've immediately lost my all powers of speech and language as soon as I try to talk about language. But...
I can give you another good one for Japanese. Another good one, because it's the source of my favorite Utena meme. So, sorry if this is gonna get too specific, talking about an anime that is now 26 years old. 26? No.
Actually,
97. How long ago was 97?
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
But Papa Melon texted me yesterday, to ask if I have seen... He just said Revolutionary Girl. I was like, yes, I have seen Revolutionary Girl. Who is asking me this?
I didn't want to assume, but I mean, I would have assumed that you would have watched it.
So actually, I haven't seen the whole thing, which is fucked up, because I've seen every other, like, major Ikuhara work since. I know. I'm a fake queer manga and anime specialist. I don't know how it happened. Look, for a long time. Oh, there she goes. For a long time, the only way to watch it was, like, on YouTube with the shitty little yellow subtitles. I'm not messing around with that. I really need to finish watching it. I know, I'm sorry. She turns into a car.
Well,
that's the message of it, now, right?
It is the message. But yeah, I own,
I'm sorry, I've totally rocked your...
You broke me! But,
to the very core.
I literally own all of Utena. I own the latest special edition of the manga and the full extremely botchedly released UK Blu-ray version, which comes with a lot of extras and posters and stuff that I need to put up in my flat. I haven't yet, even though it's been years since I've had it. But yes, time for a brain rot, guy. But yeah, no, feminist. So there is a point early in. So how much of Utena have you watched roughly?
I'd rather not say.
Like the first story arc, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so early on, there's an episode where Sayonji basically breaks into the dueling arena and tries to kill Utena outside of a duel. And Toga gets in the way because Toga is doing this long game of pretending to be Utena's prince to get her off balance so he can win the duel. You know? Hashtag just teenage things. And so he gets in the way and gets a huge bad slash on his back. And he says that he did it in the original. He says he did it because he's a feminist. He uses in Japanese he uses the word feministo. And that is the source of the greatest fandom meme, because of course feminist in Japanese doesn't mean feminist in English. It means chivalrous. Essentially.
Right. I feel like you don't even really see it used much anymore, period. Or at least
you saw it a lot more in 90s and 80s anime.
Yeah.
Because I remember that there was I think a Saint Seiya movie where the character Iki, who's the really brusque, manly man, he's about to fight a woman, she's like, don't hold back because I'm a lady. It's a shonen anime. She's like, don't hold back because I'm a lady, and he's like, I'm not a feminist, and starts attacking her. So but yeah. So the thing is that because Toga is Toga, like a lot of the male characters in Utena, is very misogynist. He's kind of uses women for his own purposes, manipulates people, etc. But so the joke is
but he's a feminist. Yeah, he said so.
Toga's feminist.
It's so funny. It's like borderline like a non sequitur.
Well, because the funny thing is that Toga is so manipulative. He's exactly the kind of guy that would say that he's a feminist to get a girl in sack in real life, in the English-speaking world. He's exactly that kind of guy, so it actually really works. Unintentionally. Unintentionally. But yeah, that's kind of my favorite one.
No, that is encouraging. Yeah. I've watched I really am due for a Penguin Drum rewatch, or I know they're doing like the movies. And I guess before that I should probably just fucking watch Utena.
I mean, but I will say,
but I'm watching Utena Gundam right now, so
Oh yeah, I haven't actually watched any of the other Ikuni works. So
I really
we're
like
on the
them.
same level.
Not even
Yuri.
Good.
My problem is that I'm really bad at watching anime by myself. Like I've needed to finish several anime that I'm watching for ages. I need to finish Love Live Superstar season 2. I need to finish Lupin the Third, the Italian season. I need to finish so much stuff. I'm really bad at doing it on my own. And now, do you know what? And I keep getting like weird because of my stupid brain is just like, yeah, you could finish Love Live Superstar, but what if you started watching Slayers again? What if you started watching Slayers? So yeah. But let's talk about Yuri. We haven't talked about Yuri much.
Oh, you're right.
I feel.
Yeah.
I feel it'd be good. I want to know. I want to ask you. This is an interview now. It's a job interview now.
Oh gosh.
No,
okay.
It's not. No. My question is, what was your first and/or, in case they're separate things, your first and/or gateway Yuri manga or anime?
I've talked about this, or at least I've been thought about this many times before, and I feel like even though I must have read and watched other Yuri, my strongest memories of truly becoming like a Yurijin, or like a getting really into Yuri, were that one anime season where Sasame Kikoto and Aoi were both airing at the same time, and nobody do math, but rare. I think I was a freshman in college, and which is also a time in your life that it tends to be very like, oh wait a minute. I mean, I already knew that I was bi. I basically popped out of my melon egg because I hatched from a melon. That's the lore, actually. Fully formed and totally gay. But yeah, I would say Aoi would be my most, what I would consider my gateway. It's Sweet Blue Flowers in English.
Yeah. By the same.
I know I'm just saying it for chat. Yeah, Wandering Sun.
Wandering Sun. Yes.
Yeah, I love her art style.
It's really good. She's currently doing. I think my favorite manga of hers is the one that she's currently doing called Even Though We're Adults.
Yeah.
Which I don't know the Japanese name. I'm collecting it. I don't know the Japanese name.
Isn't it like Otona ni Nattemo or something? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. But no, that's cool. So you were watching the anime of both when they were coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got into Yuri from there and reading Yuri manga. There were a couple, and at the time I was reading them on a certain website, and I even wound up, this is just some tea just for you guys, but I was working for a brief time with a group that I suppose you could say did scanlations, but specifically Yuri, which, a lot of professional translators were once scanlators. Like, it's not like we, But
same with former fan subbers.
For me, it was specifically about Yuri, and I mostly just did like QA because I was still learning Japanese at the time. But I remember doing, besides some like, I remember doing an Aihana Dojin, and some of the first manga that I read at that time, or some of the ones that stuck with me were Himawari-san. These are my deep cuts. I
love Himawari-san.
Yeah, I actually just put that on a list, like, pretty please can I translate this? But,
oh, because it's not, wait, it doesn't have an official yet, does it?
No, it doesn't, which is kind of surprising to me.
Didn't they announce it?
I didn't think so. I hope not, because that means I'm not doing it. Did it get licensed and I didn't notice? It's possible. I don't see anything about it.
No, I don't think it did.
I don't think it did. Oh, that brings me back.
It did, no. Yeah.
And there was another one, I think it was called Honey Crush or something. It was about like a girl. Actually, this girl got hit by a truck before it was cool. But instead of getting isekai'd, she just turned into a really gay ghost. And like haunted her crush for a bit or something. What's the lesbian one with translations? That's that's literally what made me into a translator.
Lesbian translators? What? Translators?
With a what is that? Character. I need to know that immediately.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured you meant, but I'm like, I feel like surely I would know in my bones if there was a Yuri about translators. I mean, I know that there is a visual novel that someone I vaguely know online is working on that's about like Yuri. It's like translation Yuri. What is it? Like I translated my
well, Yuri has become a more all-encompassing term.
Yeah,
so...
I think back in the day, people used to think of Yuri as the explicit one, and the completely, oh, everyone's heard me on this soapbox before, but the ill-advised English-derived term shoujo ai used to be what people said was like, that's like the pure Yuri, and now it's like, most of them have shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I mean, and I do know that in Japan, publishers try to introduce the term girls love.
Yeah,
and they still use it.
They're trying to do that over here too.
Yeah, but Yuri kind of won out just because it just became.
Yeah.
Because like you didn't need like just because something is a bit more like, oh, these are high schoolers, and something is a bit more like, oh, they're office ladies. You know, you don't like it can play with the same tropes, and B, Yuri is now so big as a subculture and as a, it's not even a genre even. It's a collection of genres with like women who love women at the core of it, and it's big enough now that you don't need to like, it's fine, you don't need to like follow the tropes, you don't need to like set it in a high school, but you can just still call it Yuri. It's all Yuri and it's all good. I mean, it's not all good, some of it is not good, but that's
yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm like, am I a fake Yuri fan? Because I am, like, sort of particular about what Yuri I get really into. But, I still, you know, when it hits, it really hits, so. I would love to know who, if you remember that title, though. Or, I can try and Google it later, but.
Yeah, who, if you remember the title, please let us know. I'm always trying to find new Yuri to read.
What was your introductory Yuri?
So it's a bit, you know, because I'm a creature that I'm an android who's existed for hundreds of years. It's a complicated question. So I would say like the first Yuri material I ever consumed was Sailor Moon, of course.
Well, yeah.
Haruka Michiru, and then soon after, a couple of years later, I watched Utena. Started watching it on tape. One of the reasons I'm so attached to Utena is because I have loved Utena since the 90s, and I watched it first on tape, then on Real Player.
Oh,
in tiny files, then on bad quality video, then on pirated DVDs. I'm sorry, it was not available where I lived in any official capacity. And then finally now on Blu-ray. So like, I've lived the last 20 years of physical and digital formats through Utena, essentially, and Evangelion. So Utena would have been my gateway, but so here's what happened.
Gateway.
As you know,
sorry. Like
yeah.
gay. Putting the gay in gateway. I don't know. Go on.
Oh, okay, I get it now. More like gay. Boom, 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 boom. But yeah, so but it wasn't quite my gateway, because what happened was it's taken me a long time to realize that I watch things better in a group, and that and a few years ago I got like a manga habit. We're gonna talk about my manga habit in a moment. I've read manga since I was a teenager. I've collected manga since I was a teenager. But yeah, I watched more anime before. And what happened a few years ago, like we're talking about like 2015, 2016, I went looking for Yuri. Because I was hanging out a lot in the Utena community, and I was like, recommend me good Yuri. I want some good Yuri, because I am a gay woman in real, and also canonically. So both real and in canon, folks. I wanted more, and people suggested a few things to me, and they didn't fully click. At the time, not a lot was available officially in English. I think, like, I wanted manga rather, because honestly, that's the other thing. As much as I love anime and animation, and I do a lot, I have always been a comics person since I was a child. I have, yes, most of the comics I own these days are Japanese comics, but I have like an entire bookshelf that has been in the background of some of my photos. That is all my non-Japanese comics, and I have comics from, let me see, I mean, I have a lot of web comics in print.
Oh my gosh.
I have a lot of Cape comics, I have a shelf of queer
I feel like
comics,
this is a whole other topic that we could get deep into, because I also have like another life, as I have a huge bookshelf downstairs of entirely non-Japanese graphic novels.
I have like British, French, Belgian, Italian, Spanish, as in from Spain, Argentinian, Uruguayan, American, Canadian. I'm just looking at. I got Tintin. I got some Bechdel. I got it all, Jerry. But the thing is that so comics have always been a big thing for me, and kind of manga, I kind of prefer it, not because it's better. It's just better suited for me, and we're gonna get into that in a second. But like, I went looking for Yuri, and I couldn't find Yuri that had the fan translations that I could find were not of good quality, and that's fair. They're unofficial, they're unfunded, you know. But just like, the quality was bad. The image quality was also very bad. It was bad. And also the stories available, I wasn't interested in. I didn't find Erica Friedman at the time. I didn't find that entire community where I could have asked more directly. I was just asking the Utena fans. I found Whispered Words, and I didn't like it at the time. I think I've read it now more. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like now if I saw it for the first time, I'd be like, whatever. But at the time, and I feel like it's only in the past few years that there's been so much Yuri manga, especially like available, at least in English, more widely. And like, because when I was getting super into reading manga as like a young melon, there was the occasional BL. I bought a BL by accident once, but there was not a lot of Yuri at that time. Or if it was probably like subtextual subplots and Sailor Moon.
And like I didn't find any of the good stuff that was around, that I know was around, and then in 2020, a very momentous year, I was visiting my parents during a brief time when I could travel internationally, and my eyes were drawn to a box set of is it Yutanishio? I've talked to him on Twitter. I should know his name. His manga After Hours, which in Italy got released as Tokyo After Hours, which the Japanese version came in a beautiful box set that the American version didn't get.
Really?
And
is that like the one with the DJ?
Yes. It's
like
more,
3 volumes.
And the third one is like almost as big as the other two combined. um, but yeah, basically, I'm just like trying to find a picture of the box art because it's really beautiful. And it was shrink wrapped, and I googled it, and I saw that it was like gay, and I was like, I'll buy this because it's gay. It looks really nice. It's very short, so I can read it quickly. So yeah, that's the
Ooh,
edition
yeah,
that I
that's
own.
nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I can
And
put it on the screen.
I love the art, and I love that it has like, honestly, I would say like in terms of its content, I would say 50% about Yuri. 50% of it the romance and the Yuri. It's not like 100% Yuri, I would say, in terms of what the focus, because a lot of the focus is like clubbing and club nights and organizing club nights and stuff like that. And it develops the characters through that. And I really like, as someone that used to club a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I was just gonna say, look, this is our meal now. I really like both Yuri and manga in general that also have like an angle. Like it's not just the romance. It's especially if it introduces you to like a hobby or like a subculture. Like that is the good shit right there.
Oh, absolutely. For me, it was like I had been in the nightlife for a while, in many points of my life. Like I was a DJ for many years.
Very cool.
I wouldn't say I was pro, but I was at a point where I had the option to start getting better equipment and start like learning and professionalizing because I was actually getting paid gigs. But I decided not to because like for a number of reasons that we don't need to go into it. But I know a lot about like clubbing and nightlife and event organizing, even though like I wouldn't say I'm in any way a professional or someone that can even do that kind of stuff anymore. But like, so that bit I connected with a lot because they talk a lot about like the feeling of like leaving the club when it's closing and it's like 3 a.m. and everything is quiet and you can go get your breakfast at somewhere that's 24 hours and it's like, yeah, man, I remember that. I remember that feeling and the vibe, and I don't know. So it had a lot for me to bite into. I also was just fresh off a breakup, so it was very good in that sense. And I read it, I really liked it, and I love the art. I love that it was not just like a high school Yuri. I would eventually come to appreciate high school Yuri a lot.
Yeah.
As I do now. But like, and I appreciated that, and I was like, let me just say I had a very Western view of how you write a queer manga, and I didn't, well, I think that there's some bits in After Hours that are a bit fan servicey. I honestly didn't think that I hope Nishio Sensei is not watching.
Oh my god, me too.
That a male writer, an artist, could write such a good romance between women that felt real, because it feels real. Those girls feel like people I would know. It feels like a relationship that I could have been in, that friends could have been in, and that's what like really got me into that. And that might have been that, except that I got into a cake with like reading Clamp and collecting Clamp again, right? And I was like, oh, I'm gonna check if now that Dark Horse doesn't have, because Dark Horse lost the license for a bunch of stuff, and Kodansha started publishing the rare special editions, and I was like, I'm gonna go on the Kodansha. This is literally how it happened, honey. I went to the Kodansha website to look to see if they were releasing a Tokyo Babylon special edition. They weren't, although we're getting one soon, by the way.
Nice.
Based on the latest special edition that is coming out, has just come out in Japan, and Tokyo Babylon being my one of my favorite mangas, and I went looking, and what surprised me is that in the front page, they had like the different drop downs, and one of the drop downs for the genres, and one of them was Yuri, and I was like, Yuri, in the front page of a manga publisher? What? This was 2021. This would not have been a surprise to anyone but me.
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely changed even just in, like, since I started translating.
Yeah.
In 2015, depending on exactly when you call it. But yeah, I feel like it went from, please give me all of your Yuris, to like, not only can I not possibly translate all the Yuri, I can't even read all the Yuri anymore, which is a wonderful problem to have.
It's a wonderful
and that's
one
just
to have.
the stuff in
at
English.
That point. Yeah, like so I went to the Kodansha website, and and they were publishing at the time. They're still publishing I always get this confused because the official name in English
Whisper Me a
for
Love
the-
Song.
Whisper Me a Love Song, because the official name in English used in the West is not the same as the official name in English used in Japan.
Go figure. What is it
Because
in Japan? It's
it's
probably...
Whispering You a Love Song,
Oh, interesting.
I think. Yeah. Because they used that for the anime, which is coming out soon. Which I'm really excited for. So that one, I started reading that, and I started reading If I Could Reach You, which I'm not gonna talk about that one. We'll talk about that one in private.
Okay.
It's not porn. It's just I don't want to talk about that one because it's too nuanced for. I don't feel like going into the nuance right now. But like, I love Whisper Me a Love Song, Whispering You a Love Song, whatever way you want to call it. And I went looking for, like, you know, I've been on AniList for a few years to like track what I'm reading and what I'm watching, and it's very good at like recommending you adjacent stuff that you may not have heard of. It's not good at recommending you obscure stuff, but it's good at like saying, you know, hey, if you read Claymore, maybe you might actually enjoy Berserk. You know, very straightforward recommendations like that. And Whisper Me a Love Song, the first recommendation was Bloom Into You, and I googled it, and everyone was talking about Bloom Into You as being like the Yuri manga of the last decade, which it is, in my opinion. It is.
Yeah.
As someone that has now...
I'm biased,
Not
but
only-
I would say it's certainly
I
up
know.
there.
I know, but I immediately read Bloom Into You, and I was like grabbed. I was grabbed because like a lot of my friends, when I tell them to read Yuri manga, like they might read Yuri manga that I recommend them if it's about adults, but they will not read about high schoolers because they always tell me the same thing, which is a fair thing, by the way. They will tell me, because most of my friends are LGBT people, they will tell me I hated high school. I don't want to read a comic that reminds me of high school. And for me, there's two things. One is that it's very removed from. It's a different culture, so it's completely removed from my.
Yeah, it's not at all like
me of
your
my high school.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
that's
I
why
can't
can watch-
stand another
yeah.
reminder of when I was standing in my sailor fuku behind the school and a boy confessed to me, but the girl I like was secretly yeah.
But it's also
You know,
like,
that
it's also why
experience.
I can easily watch stuff like Riverdale, even though like Riverdale, I know that Riverdale becomes like crazy and stuff like that. But I mean, even early on, like stuff that takes place in an American school, it's a bit more related to my school, but like still very far away from me, you know. So like, and also the other thing is that the genre of like realistic or semi-realistic anime that takes place in Japanese high schools is also a codified one that is not necessarily reflective of what it's like to actually go to a Japanese high school.
Right.
Like it's really idealized. There's like a cultural aspect to it that again I'm not gonna go into because I don't feel like I am informed enough to go into that. But so because of this kind of idealization, it helps me because it's like, okay, you know, going to high school for me was not like Bloom Into You. Bloom Into You is not even the most idealistic of the high school years that I've read. But it's like, wouldn't it be nice to imagine what it would have been if it were like that, where you know, or Whisper Me a Love Song is a much more direct one where there's no boys and everyone is gay in that one.
I was
That one
gonna
is much more
say,
idealized.
I feel like Bloom Into You is interesting in that it's not an all-girls school, and I actually really like that about it because, you know, I mean, I fucking love the fantasy of, sorry everyone, a world in which men are apparently virtually non-existent. Present company in chat and Mr. Melon notwithstanding. You know, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, that is a fun, you know, fantasy. I know that I'm not even necessarily the target for that fantasy, but that's also a whole other thing to dig into. But I really like a Yuri that takes place, like, that has male characters, because that makes it more explicit that they're gay. Or at least, you know, queer in some way, that they have the option of, you know, crushing on boys available, and that is not what's happening. Plus, like, you know, Maki is a pretty interesting character in Bloom Into You. The current, I don't know if you've seen, you know, Kini naru hito wa otoko ja nakatta? The guy I liked wasn't a guy. It's like a Twitter Yuri.
No, I don't know it.
It's, I'll send it to you later. It's really good, and I'm really hoping that maybe it gets licensed and I can translate it. But it also has like a really, really good like male supporting characters. And yeah, I don't want to get into it too much, but
No
yeah.
worries.
Well, like, I just don't want to spoil
That's
anything.
fair.
But yeah, Bloom Into You, I feel like has some interesting Arrow Ace stuff going on, but I was worried when that became like the selling point in certain circles, because I'm like, well, you know, it's still a Yuri. They are still gonna
Yeah, it's
get
also like
together.
that's like like Maki is a side character as well, so like he's
Yeah.
interesting in that. But I want to say, but yeah, because like also I think it might be like I can't really speak to this because I'm not ace or a romantic. Like just because teenagers are confused about what love and sex is doesn't mean they're gonna be ace.
Mhm.
Everybody is. I'm sorry. Like
Actually,
I don't mean to slight people, but like you know, just
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I will say if you're looking for a Yuri that has some asexual rep going on, maybe more so than Bloom Into You. A friend of mine recently did an article, or I think an article about Donuts Under a Crescent Moon, which I translated into English. But it's an office lady romance. But I think the main character is, my reading of her is that she's ace. She's not aromantic, but she's not like very interested in physical touch, and that actually does remain, without, you know, spoiling too much, that does remain consistent. It's not like, oh, she was just a slow bloomer, no pun intended.
Yeah, I need to finish reading Donuts Under a Crescent Moon actually.
It was really short and sweet, and that's also a pun intended.
But yeah, I think like what so my thing with a lot of Yuri manga is, of course, for obvious commercial reasons, a lot of it is very short. And so I think what got me reading Whisper Me a Love Song, Bloom Into You, and a bunch of others that were like about like I've determined that like basically, I mean, yeah, I will read shorter Yuri, I will read one shots, short stories, anthologies, whatever. But my preferred format is for a comic to be 3 tankobons or more. Like, I mean, heck, After Hours is technically 3, but page count wise, it's more like 4 or 5. And like, but that's kind of because I like there to be room to develop a story, and that's what Bloom Into You does really, really well, in my opinion. It has, because it's 8 volumes, without even getting to the side content, it has enough room to not just develop the main romance extremely well and in detail, which it does, but it also develops the side characters very, very well. And what I just really like that. I really like that it feels like you know this cast of characters, and this is why, like, at the end of Bloom Into You, I was literally like, I can read 20 more volumes about these characters and what happens next for them. You know what I mean? Because it feels so, like, yeah, in some ways it's idealized, and there's other manga that deals with the realities of being LGBT in Japan much, much, much more realistically. There's only like tiny bits of homophobia here and there that characters experience, but overall, pretty idealized. But still, emotionally, it's resonant, because I always remember one of the things that I like to bring up in discussions of the presentation of like emotional reality in fiction is what Pendleton Ward told Rebecca Sugar when she was creating Steven Universe, right? Because basically he was her mentor, like she worked in Adventure Time and she went to work in Steven Universe. And what he told him, that basically he kind of saw as like the reason why Adventure Time wasn't just a fun, weird kids cartoon and they actually resonated with people, was because he was like, the situations we present to our audiences are fantastical and unrealistic a lot of the time, but for them to connect to them emotionally, the emotions have to be realistic. And that's something that Steven Universe did pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel a lot of anime manga does really, really well. It's like, yeah, you know, again, things are a bit idealized in Bloom Into You, but for example, for me, Toko's emotional landscape and development is very realistic. Of a traumatized girl that puts teenager who puts a lot of shit on her own shoulders, who other people are putting a lot of shit on her own shoulders. And she also helped me discover my favorite kind of rare character archetype that I don't even know if it's a proper character archetype or something that I identified I like in characters, which is the perfect and popular girl, and the most popular, most beautiful, most lovely, most charming girl in school has a dark secret and has a lot of fucked up stuff and skeletons in the closet. And that's kind of like not in a sense of like, haha, she needs to be brought down a peg, but in the sense of like the pressure of trying to be perfect and how that impacts on you psychologically, or of pretending to be perfect, you know? So, but yeah, I just absolutely loved Bloom Into You. And then it was like a domino effect. By now, I would say that I've read comfortably probably 70% of what's out there in English, I would say, by now. Maybe not. Maybe more like 60. A year ago, it would have been 70, because I've been reading other things. But what started happening in 2021 is that I started buying manga on my Kindle. I'm putting it on my Kindle and reading it in bed, because turns out my Kindle is perfect for reading in bed. And I developed a habit, which I don't quite have anymore. I now just read manga all day long, different points. But like, I developed a habit where I was like, okay, I'll go to bed an hour early and I'll tuck in and I'll read manga. And that's how I got through like last year. I like to say to people, last year I read 220 tankobon.
Dang.
Last year. Yeah. But in fairness, last year I read all of BTX, that's 16 volumes. All of Sailor Moon, that's about I think 12 or 14 volumes. All of Berserk, that's 42 volumes. All of Nana, that's like I think 20 something volumes. When I get really into a manga, I can read it extremely fast, unless it's in Italian, in which case it takes me a while. But yeah, so like that's my thing. So that's why I can, like, when there's something cool going on, I'm like, I try to read the manga rather than watch the anime. Like, I have not been able to watch more than halfway through Chainsaw Man, but I read all of the manga and I love it. You know?
Yeah.
It is a lot of manga. I
have a very, specific problem where squinting at manga on a screen is literally my job, so it's pretty much the last thing I want to do at the end of the day. Even though I really want to read more manga, and I also want to read more manga in Japanese, because, then I can be on top of what the good yuri is before it comes out in English and be like, hey, somebody let me translate this into English. But that also feels very similar to my job too, so it's like...
yeah, that's fair. That is my problem when I watch anything with subtitles. I don't mean just translation. Especially when I watch stuff that has closed captions, and I'm like, that's wrong. That went by too fast. That sentence broke in the wrong place.
I meant to say earlier...
That rephrasing is bad.
Like, I never... I feel like this is uncommon for a Japanese and English translator, but I've never really done or learned how to do subtitles. I have a lot of friends who do it, of course, and I've picked up a lot through osmosis, but I did not go to grad school for, like, translation, actually. I just kind of fell into it. So I am missing certain things like that. I don't know how to... Which would actually be super helpful as a VTuber if I was good at putting subtitles on things, but I'm not, and I don't really have time to learn yet another skill that I... Like, what am I gonna do? Use it to get more work when I've... I mean... Sorry, that became a, like, very... complaint about a very fortunate situation. Like, oh no, I already have a stable job. But, it's the freelancer, paradox,
Freelancer
where you either
mentality.
have too much or not enough, and it's very hard to hit that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
also
why I had to
the
leave.
pay is mostly shit.
That's why I had to leave, because like I was working for indie film festivals in Scotland, and some very mainstream ones as well. And what started happening is that basically, like, we were doing a lot of workshops as well, teaching independent filmmakers how to caption and whatever. And what started happening is that the request for accessibility brought by closed captions. Closed captions includes both the actual subtitle and the like noise, sound and music descriptions.
Right.
It became so required in the indie film circuit that companies have started doing it, and they do it in their countries of origin. So by the time that the festivals get the films, my services are no longer required because like they get more and more stuff that's like captioned. Also, like a lot of the festivals closed during like after COVID. During COVID, they actually kept going, a lot of them, but after they closed, and that's why I moved to become a computer programmer, because that like the pay and stability is much better. Even as a freelancer, now that I don't talk about this very much publicly in these terms, but I'm gonna say it. For not in my stream. I am disabled, especially now with long COVID. I have like extreme fatigue. And
That really sucks.
It really sucks. And I mean, because of that, my ADHD, I've like for years, I like as a freelancer, I'd say I was working less than 40 hours a week. Now I'm working 20 hours a week. But because of what I make, that is like almost the equivalent of if I worked full-time minimum wage. Because I'm a programmer and I have that privilege now. But like I had to move to the different career because basically subtitling dried up, sadly. I keep getting messages going like, hey, are you free to do this? And I'm like, I could do it, but I shouldn't. Like money's always good, more money's always good, you know, but like I really shouldn't because I already have a lot on, you know, so.
Yeah, a friend said to me a long time ago, I think in the context of me asking, because she's really good at sewing and handicrafts and makes like doll clothes as like a hobby, and because, you know, I have millennial capitalism poisoned brain, I was like, oh, well, why don't you like start an Etsy shop or something? Like, why don't you do that? I mean, I think it was also because she had a day job that she really didn't like, so I was like, what about you know, maybe you could do that instead. But and I'm gonna forget how exactly she said it then, but she was like, basically my time is more valuable than whatever amount of money I could get by, you know, monetizing this hobby. Because like the amount of work that goes into it, even if she charged a huge amount, she's like, at that point, I'd rather just be doing it for myself. And I was like, damn, still think about that when it comes to, I know that's maybe a more common sentiment these days, but whenever it comes to art and streaming and stuff, I'm like, that's right.
Yeah.
Because you have that built-in instinct to be like, but this should be a job. And from the beginning, and I'm circling back around to streaming now, but like, I was always like, I am not going to make this into a job. I am just doing this for fun. I have a job. I am like already burnt out and I can't, but still, whenever I feel like sometimes when I let my guard down, I'm still, there's a part of my brain that's like, oh, you have to do it like this, or you have to try to get more growth. And it's not that I'm trying to get more subscribers or anything. It's just like the societal push, I guess, to constantly be trying to either make it bigger or make money off of it, or ideally both. Maybe that's more American than global, but I mean, you know, it's capitalism.
I mean, I will tell you my perspective in a second, but I will say that my very Uruguayan, very not American mother, like every now and again, she asks me like, "Are you making any money out of that yet?" You know, and the reality is that I actually have a good answer. Yes, I am. Every couple of months, I get a check from Twitch.
Yeah,
it's not a big check, but you know, it's enough for, I don't know, takeaway.
Yeah, actually, you know, and it also like it feels, I don't know about you, but sometimes that like not necessarily sizable compared to my actual paychecks, but that check from Twitch is like, oh yeah, I really earned this with my shining anime girl personality.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Not as if I didn't earn the other, like the translation money, but it's just like, wow, this is kind of different and special.
Yeah,
but also
no,
money.
Absolutely. No, totally. And it's like, yeah, I am making money, no, but not enough. And my mom's like, oh, are you going to? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is not a field where anybody, no matter how talented they are, can predict it. But I know that there are things that I could do for growth. And my perspective on it is this. Ever since the beginning, I have always said that my VTubing is more than a hobby, less than a job. It's less than a job because at the time I was doing my second master's when I started doing my VTubing, and then I had to go on the job hunt. I got sick, job hunt, sick. I got a job that didn't last very long. I got a limit. It was meant to last only a month. It was
right.
Yeah, and now I have this. Now I have this like ongoing freelance gig since December. That's worked out pretty well, and yes, I would like to be a full-time streamer and content creator. Would I like that? Yes. Do I want to try my hardest to do that? Yes. At the moment, I cannot because I got sick last summer. I didn't do my dissertation. So what I'm doing right now is, like, in case chat doesn't know, I'm on what I call semi-hiatus, which means that I still do collabs like this one, up to 2 a week, and I do 1 stream a week on my channel, which is the Soleta Sundays, where we watch Witch from Mercury and I build Gunpla. But I am not focusing much on creating content because I need to. Well, at the moment, I haven't worked on my dissertation much because I need to finish my Pomu project, which is a very time-consuming project, and I need to get it done so that I can finally put that to the side and work fully on my dissertation. But like, yeah, the thing is, juggling fatigue, a job, and streaming, and then other projects, it was just too much. So like, I think I got what it takes to try to make it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I will. But I feel like there's a lot of things that I want to pursue once I have more time to pursue them. So for me, it's less like, how can I put it? It's less about the monetary aspect of the, like, oh, I need to monetize it. And it's more like, I want to create spaces and creations that people can connect to. I want to communicate things through my creativity and my performance as a VTuber. And that's kind of it, you know, like not just streams. I want to make pre-recorded YouTube videos about anime and like analyzing certain topics in anime that I like and manga that I like. But I also like, my favorite kind of streams to do are what I call event streams, where the kind of stream that requires a lot of prep. And like, the biggest example for that was, of course, in March we did the trial of Captain Hurricane,
right?
Which was the most highly produced stream that I've ever done. Me and Sono spent like a day and a half, a full-time day and a half, basically setting it up to make it so that when you watch that stream, it feels like you're playing a Phoenix Wright game, because we did all the transitions and the music and stuff, and we had like a way for people to put objection in, and it was for the participants in the collab, and it worked out really, really well, and we were really, really, really proud of it, you know. And I was like, that's the kind of creativity that I love about the VTuber scene, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I love doing. I love doing Gunpla streams, gaming streams, chatting streams, collabs. I love doing all of that, but I love putting that level of creativity and focus on a project. And I'm like, if I could like make more clips, if I could like, you know, have the time to make clips, have time to learn to make them better, have the time to like do like little 10 to 20 minute mini essays on anime, great. And put that on YouTube, great, you know? And if growth comes from that, cool. If I get towards a career, that's cool. I would love to work in one of the VTuber agencies. I know HoloLive would never take me, but I think Nija would, you know? So who knows? Those are my dreams. I do have these dreams, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you know, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and I can stay at this level and I'm fine. But I don't feel like I have to have that success because I need to monetize my hobby. I feel like this is kind of my dream that I want to do. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, you know, I'm an adult, I can take it. And I know that I'm probably too old for most agencies. So, you know, whatever.
Sure.
So, yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's my long spiel.
No. That's... I totally feel that. And I did want to talk about that stuff. And I do think it's not the same situation because I'm very lucky to have a job that I already really love doing, so I'm not really looking to make a career out of it. So I guess you're right that it's not necessarily a drive to like monetize it per se, but there is the, you know, desire to both just to make more stuff and to sort of grow. And I had to sort of sit with the, like, I really love and admire like Hololive, and I'm looking around at my posters and stuff, but actually even just this morning I was looking because they put out a fresh call for applicants, even though it's the same form that's like always been available, I think. And I was like, oh, there's a part of me that really wants to do that, but I know that if I had to stream at least 3 times a week every week, I would get burned out really fast, unless I was barely doing my other job at all, and maybe even then.
Yeah.
So
it's good to know your limits like that.
Yeah.
Like, I know that for myself, I could do it because I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been like I have to stop myself for like when I'm more active as a streamer. I have to stop. I was like, at the beginning of this year, I was like, oh, I'm gonna stream less because I need to do my dissertation. And the last few weeks before I had to force myself to go on hiatus, I was streaming like 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I am stupid and insane. But
I mean, that's amazing. But yeah, that's also like not sustainable for most people, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm at home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
For my job and stuff, and so for me it kind of works. But like, for example, I don't think I would ever apply to Hololive again, and it's not because there's anything wrong. Like, are you kidding? Like, I would love to be on Hololive. Are you kidding me? Fucking dream VTuber job.
Yeah.
But I feel they wouldn't.
Sorry, I'm just like, if Hololive was ever like, hey, we love your content, Honey Melon, definitely gonna happen like any day now. I'd be like, oh, sign me the fuck up, but...
Oh, I know. My thing with it is, like, knowing what I know about Hololive and Niji, all branches, by the way, this is difficult for all their branches.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like, yeah, numbers aren't everything. And there's a lot of, like, in each way of Niji Sanji English, for example, there will be people that had 100k on YouTube beforehand, and there's people that have like 2,000 on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is way more achievable than the other.
Yeah.
And so, but in Holo, a lot of people were like very well known in many, many, many ways. And I'm not saying this to like discourage people from applying. It's also this, like, at the time I'm not applying to either.
Oh,
but
I
kind of want to get to a point. No, I want to get to a point where I'm like, if I apply for the big 2 again, I want it to be because I honestly think that they would really, because so many people apply for these. So many people. And I know that in terms of like the content I put out and the quality of it, I would not necessarily be at the bottom of the list, but I wouldn't necessarily be at the top. And I know why. I know that there's a lot of things that I can do better. There's a lot of and they do look at numbers, and they look at numbers not because like it's not like a validation thing. It's just like what you have to remember. There's a really wonderful VTuber called Realize that did like some really, really good, very businessy, very business-like streams about the Niji Sanji editions. And he was saying, remember, you are an investment for the company, and they need to have enough of a solid belief that you're a good investment as a talent, that you're going to make back the money that they invested in you and more, right? So I'm like, if I was a hiring manager and I looked at my own content, and this doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with my content or it's bad or poor quality, but if I looked at my output and my content, I would go like, she's not in a place where she might necessarily have that level of like draw. You know what I mean? That level of like consistency and draw and quality.
Yeah, I definitely don't have that.
I'm not saying that to put myself down.
And yeah,
I'm not saying that to put us down. I'm not saying that to put us down, by the way, at all. It's
I mean,
just
first
like,
of all,
I know what they look for.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, maybe in a year, depending on how things pan out, I might be in a position where I'm like, okay, I would apply to something that is not an indie agency. But even, oh god, I I have like a little bitch to do, but I'm gonna do it in private. I'm gonna be
Okay.
professional. But yeah, so that's my thing. Like, I would love to be Niji Sanji, for example. Although I think if I was in Niji Sanji and Pomu was my senpai, I would die. If she tried to talk to me, I would explode as a person. I just could not, I just could not deal. But like, Niji Sanji, if you're watching, I would not explode. Please hire me. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I am at the point where like I feel it's very easy. I think there's like a thing. I don't know if this is a thing in the Japanese VTuber independent scene, but I feel like there's a bit of a problem, in my opinion, about how people see auditions for the big two in the indie VTuber space. Because I see a lot of people that are very, very early on in their careers and don't really have that many skills. I'm not trying to put anyone down, okay? I'm just telling you what companies are looking for. Like, people that, like, there's a lot of people that are, like, very, very small. They have, like, 100 followers, and they don't have much of an audience, and they don't have that many skills, and they haven't really sorted that, and they're, like, applying for Niji or for Holo and getting disappointed because people kind of used to, because
I feel like there was probably a time where,
it was
you
a
could
bit more
maybe
like
get away with that. But
yeah, but it's
at this
not
point,
the
when
case
there's such an
anymore.
influx of, when like so many people, and they kind of
There's-
have their pick of all of these like already popular,
like there's a lot of VTubers that are not like famous that I could name to you, and you wouldn't have heard of them, and they're full-time VTubers.
Yeah, there's
that are
so many
independent.
people that you see, that I see at
Yeah.
least all the time, that have like this huge following, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And
Yeah,
it's just, it's
exactly.
not even out of lack of interest, it's just there's so many.
No. And so like, so my thing with this is that like, you see, I feel like especially because of the way that like, people interpreted HoloLive's, here she goes. Hi, Giselle. the way that people, and not necessarily the way HoloLive presented it, but more the way people interpreted it. People interpreted it as like, oh, I'm gonna apply to HoloLive. It's gonna uplift me, and I'm gonna, my idol dreams will come true. I'll be a nobody that came from nowhere. And it's like, in HoloLive, you could be a nobody that came from nowhere in like Gen 0,
Yeah.
Gen 1, maybe. But that's not the case anymore. Like a lot of the girls were in Holo Japan from Gen 2 from gamers onward, or from Gen 2 onward, like they were known in Japan. They were known in Nico Nico, and sorry, speaking of, I'm sorry, I need to do this now that I've said Nico Nico. I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry I have to do this to you.
Oh, okay. Hang on, let me put down my tea. Oh, you're gonna get the... I've been thinking of doing that anyway. I'm like, my arm's getting tired.
Fuck yeah.
Alright, ready? ニッコニッコニー、あなたのハートへニッコニッコニー、笑顔届ける矢沢ニコニコ、ニッコニーって覚えてラブニコ。
I love it. I love it. I can't do it
Live
because I
and
don't know
in
the entire
person.
spiel. I can just say the Nico Nico Ni bit.
I would
I
absolutely
just do that.
love a Nico Nico Ni.
I don't know the full thing though. I don't know the full spiel.
No, just the Nico Ni is fine.
Nico Nico Ni.
Cute.
How's
Also,
that?
thank you, Hoo. I did indeed need that.
Watermelon. I get it. It's funny. But yeah, so like I don't know. So that's just kind of my view, that I feel like a lot of people get like really heartbroken and really disappointed, and they let this like, and it's like, listen, I mean, aside from the fact that there's a lot of talented people that apply and don't even get an audition, like it's a matter that like it's not just a matter of numbers, but it's also a matter that like you like, and this is something that I think there's a lot more awareness now, and I think there a lot of the way in which they publicize these auditions are much more kind of grounded. Like if you read the Niji Sanji audition now, it's like so long and it has so much very, very professional, very boring, dry professional job application stuff. And it's like, yeah, these are job applications. This is not like, this company's gonna grab me from nowhere and make my dream come true. No, you need to show that you are a professional they can deal with and that can make them money. And that's not most independent creators. because we're not at that point. Because it's very hard to be at that point, and it's not because you're bad or your content is bad. Like, you can improve your content, you can make it better. There's always ways to improve. But even after a certain point, it's like, there's a really, really good video that I always bring up from... Honey, do you watch Super iWatch Wolf?
I don't think so.
So he's an Irish video essay creator. He's fantastic. He's done a bunch of wonderful, wonderful video essays on like Chainsaw Man and Berserk. That's how I read Berserk. I watched this his video and I was like, oh, Berserk is not what I thought it was, because I had bad ideas about Berserk. And he is now at like, I think he might be at 2 million. He reached 1 million subscribers in 2020. He's very, very well known. Yeah, he's like friends with Hate Bomber guy. I think he might be friends or at least professionally connected with Iron Mouse, because Iron Mouse showed up for like a snippet, for like just like a small quote in the video that I'm talking about. So he has a video that's called, so it's something like, I don't know what it's called. Hang on, let me link it to it, because I can't remember what it's called. But it's basically about, it's ostensibly a video about why courses that teach you to be an online influencer, and yes, those exist, why those courses are garbage, essentially. Why those courses are basically useless garbage. And he's saying it from the point of view of a guy that has over 1 million subscribers. And I'm gonna link you to it in chat. It's like 2 hours long, I'm sorry. But he starts talking about these, and then he basically, like, by the end of the essay, he's like talking about like the people that take these courses and the people that struggle with it. Well, he also talks about how like even the people giving you the advice are giving you bad advice, you know, all this other stuff. But then like he even talks about how, like, I don't fully agree with what he says, but he does say that basically there is like no real formula to become popular and a regular professional content creator. Not even 1 million. We're talking about like making a living out of it. You know, we're not talking about being big. We're talking about like, just being able to like make a bare bones living. And now I don't fully agree, because I think that there are things that you can do to optimize what you do that will help you. But I think he's like, you know, I will listen to him over other people because he's actually done it. And he's like, well, what I did is I posted essays about shonen anime and I got better as I went. And I kept doing it for 6 to 7 years. The end. That's what I did, you know? And there's a bit at the end where he talks to a lot of other people. Like, he talks to H1 guy, he talks to Iron Mouse. And H1 guy said something that I try to bear in mind when I feel down on myself, when I feel like I don't do enough, when I feel like my stuff is... When I'm like, oh, I'm never going to make it, And H1 guy says, resign yourself to failure. Resign and just do whatever you want to do. Do what you're driven to do and to learn to do, and get better at it if you want to. But like, resign yourself to failure and just follow what you would do with no restraints. And it's just like, yeah, that's it. You know, I'm trying. Like, you know, when I have the capacity, that's what I want to do. I want to do what I want to do. Just not because it will get me popular, because it's what I creatively want to do as a creator. I wanted to put Captain Hurricane on trial because Captain Hurricane is a criminal and needed to be brought to justice for his many crimes. And, you know, he might have said that the court is biased because I was the judge and my wife was the prosecutor. But listen, there was no bias in that court. That hedgehog, that doesn't prove anything. That hedgehog was sentenced and has now paid his debt back to society. But he did go on trial. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of...
That's like a lesson that I feel like I am always learning and then forgetting and then realizing again and making the surprised Pikachu face about. Like, even before streaming when I was, you know, and that's another thing too, is that I have way too many, like, creative dreams and much too high aspirations to even, like, well, and too much ADHD to focus on one thing like streaming, because I also, you know, I want to draw comics and I want to make games and I want to probably write novels, and like, somebody please take these hobbies away from me. But but in all of those, I have gone through the cycle of like subconsciously starting to steer towards what I think I'm supposed to be doing, or what I think, you know, is going to be popular or successful, not even out of a conscious desire to be popular and successful, but just because it's like, you know, that's the sort of current that you get. And I hate the term content creation, but like that's that's a whole other can of worms. But that is like the sort of like implied, like it's just assumed that that's everybody's goal, and you start to believe that that's your goal even when it's not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like, I want to do a lot of things.
Yeah,
and have fun doing those things.
That's the issue, right? Because like for me, it has been the goal from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has been the goal that I would love this to be my life.
Yeah.
I am realistic about what that means. I know it's not all roses and stuff like that. It's just what I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do it? Who knows?
I think
Lord knows. But yeah, I want to try. I want to give it the best try that I can. And in the last year and a half, I've given it the best try that I can. But I had certain circumstances that needed to be sorted and still need to be sorted.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to keep trying, because one of the things that I found in my life as someone with ADHD and a lot of other mental health stuff is that I, like, this is something like Captain Hurricane has made fun of me for. I have like the shonen protagonist thing of like, I never give up and I never stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know,
I give up and stop all the time.
No. How do I? No. How do I explain? No.
I getcha.
Like, I gave up on comedy, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I got burnt out on comedy, and I started being a VTuber. Maybe I'll get burnt out as a VTuber and do something else. But one of the things that I've worked on a lot in my mental health is to not consider these failures as like, I as a person am a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, if today I'm too tired and I haven't been productive enough, I feel like shit. I do feel like shit. But then I try to be like, okay, then tomorrow. I can never stop. What I can never stop doing is I can never stop thinking tomorrow will be better. And I've been saying this since I started as a VTuber. I was like, as long as I get this done, it'll be good. And that's kept on happening. And if that's me as a VTuber forever, I don't care. Because like, I just want to keep going. Because I know that if I stop trying, it's not good for me. I need to at least always be trying. Even if I mostly am not going to succeed, I need to know that I'm trying, because it's kind of what drives me forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As a person, it's how, like, my self-esteem is tied to, like, you know what? At least I tried. At least I tried my best. You know?
Yeah.
And everybody's best looks different, by the way.
This is also true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been having the same thing with the comic that I'm trying to work on, where like I constantly have a part of me that's like, this sucks, or at least this is not on the level that it would need to be to like do the thing, and maybe I'll just stop. Or like the really insidious one is like, you know, so technically I'm trying to do this for, you know, Yuri, the manga magazine. They have like a biannual contest. I know. They have a biannual contest where, you know, you can submit your short Yuri comic, and like maybe you get published or you win a little money or whatever. And I'm not even looking to win that. I don't think I would. But really, I just needed a deadline. And like, there's a part of me that kept throughout the past couple weeks has been like, there's no way I'm gonna make the deadline. I should just give up and, you know, come back to it later. But I know me, and I'm not gonna come back to it later. So I was like, no, shut up. We're gonna pretend that we're gonna hit the deadline, and we're gonna keep trying. And you know what? I think I might actually hit the deadline now.
Yay!
I finished inking earlier. That's why I got all, like, caught up in what I was doing, because I finished probably the most annoying step. I still have to do tones and maybe some more backgrounds, and I still, you know, I still don't think it's the right, like, it's not even that it's bad, but I'm not a professional manga artist, and I'm not, you know, I was gonna say I'm not Japanese, but rather it's that, like, my style is not purely manga style. There's a lot of other influences.
I mean,
not as if
I mean,
mangaka don't have, you know,
yeah. I mean,
non-manga
I always
influences.
say, what I always say, like, you don't need me to say this, but what I always say to people that don't read a lot of manga and say that manga is a style, I'm like, manga style does not exist.
Mhm.
Manga is comics from Japan.
Yeah.
And there's some comics from, there's like, you know,
it's more
yeah. No, I know you didn't mean it. I know
yeah,
you didn't
no.
mean that.
It's more like, it's not the style that you see like in their magazine specifically.
Yeah, the more expected style
yes.
for your comic Yuri Hime. Yeah, no,
but,
I knew what you meant.
Still...
But I was just like.
But no, you're so right, and that's
yeah.
That's a hill I have attempted to die on many a time as well.
Oh,
even back when Baby Melon started in anime club at her school.
Yeah, because I'm just like, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a Japanese anime. It's anime. It doesn't, it looks very different to modern anime. The perfect example for me is actually the Chainsaw Man manga, specifically, not the anime. The anime a bit, but like the manga has a lot of influence in terms of like the action scenes and the art style of like a lot of the monsters. It's a lot of influence from European comics, from like especially from like 2000 AD.
Yeah. And a lot of my friends in the like American comic sphere who don't normally read a lot of manga have been going wild about Chainsaw Man, which is cool because that means it's gonna be like continuing the cycle of influencing each other. By the way, on the topic of Chainsaw Man, and we probably should wrap up soon because we totally went over the intended time, which is totally fine. I haven't and won't be reading Chainsaw Man because I'm just a delicate flower and I don't like a lot of gore. But I appreciate Power from a Distance. I'm like, I know I like that one. Have you read Look Back?
No.
Oh, you gotta... It's a short story by the author. And it also, when I'm like, I want to get into my feelings about creativity, and especially like drawing, and also cry a lot. I read...
wait. Yeah, I heard of it because, I heard of it because Super Epic Wolf in his... High five! Super Epic Wolf in his video about Chainsaw Man, he talks about Fire Punch and he talks about Look Back. I remember now. Yeah, I haven't read them.
I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna read them,
I know that at least in the States you can read it for free on the Shonen Jump app or website. And it came out in print in English. It is... I had a weird... going on... or celebratory 100th tangent. I had a thing with Papa Melon the other day where they were visiting and I was like, oh, you gotta read this manga, but it's so sad, but you should read it, but you're gonna cry. And Unmute me. Unmute you. Music? What do you say, chat? Are we functioning?
Chat, hello, chat.
Hey!
Chat, hello, chat.
We live.
We live. We're back. Sorry about all that.
I'm not sure exactly where we cut out. Somewhere in the midst of talking about how everyone should read, look back, and cry.
Yeah. It sounds really good. Can I before we go, can I get like a little dig at someone I'm not gonna name?
I guess.
Okay. It's because you reminded me of this because look back. I was just gonna say I would never give my parents a manga to read because they will not read it. Neither.
Yeah,
of them.
my mom will, but actually that's another story. But I'll let you go on.
Another kettle of worms. But yeah. Anyway, no, I was gonna say. So in terms of like sad manga, right? I mean, there's a lot of manga out there that is like really harsh and depressing and deals with like really real stuff through a lens of like fantasy or whatever, or through a lens of like maybe abstracted reality. Like I tried reading Oyasumi Pun Pun, for example, and what I read was good, but it was like I'm not in the mind space for this right now.
Yeah,
because it's too harrowing. But my parents are just like from a generation where like it was before. My parents are very old, and they don't really read comics anyway. Even if they were not manga, they would just not read them. So yeah, they don't like that kind of stuff. But anyway, no, and even though I know that if they give it a chance, they could like a lot of stuff. But you know, they just will not give it a chance. They're just like not interested, just not interested. It's a different generation. But anyway, so but yeah, and I was just like a while ago, I read a review by somebody who reviews manga that is not of the style of Oyasumi Pun Pun. And they reviewed. Are you familiar with Takopi's Original Sin?
It sounds familiar.
It's a short manga. I think it's like 2 volumes, and it got published in Japan as part of like the Shonen Jump like online.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw this around a little bit at the time that it came out, I think.
Yeah, it's published, I think, on the same like online service that Spy Family is. Like the Shonen Jump's like basically web comic kind of presence. And Takopi's Original Sin is notable because it sold like gangbusters when it released. Like it's only, I think it's 2 or 3 volumes, and it sold like hotcakes. It outsold like One Piece, I think, on the month it came out.
Wow, that is
it was like, yeah. Oh yeah, it was insane. And I also learned about it from Spry Wolf. I'm sorry. But the thing is, Takopi's Original Sin is kind of something like Oyasumi Pun Pun. It has a lot of cutesy art at first, but it's very harrowing. I mean, I personally think that it's a masterpiece. It's incredible. It's very raw. It's about abuse. A lot of it's about abuse. And
yeah,
it looks at it through like a kid befriending an alien that can alter reality, and the alien tries to make reality be more so that the kid can be happy, but no matter what happens, the kid is always unhappy. And it's really harrowing, it's really sad, but it's also incredible and a wonderful, wonderful piece of art. And this reviewer, who is someone that I respect a lot otherwise, and I'm not gonna name, but I will name her. I will name them in our DMs.
We've got a whole list of additional tea that we're supposed to spill later.
Oh God!
I'm definitely gonna forget.
I haven't kept. Hang on. I can't remember the other one. I can't remember the other thing that I said. I will tell you later.
Things will come back to us probably.
Oh God, I hope. Anyway, but yeah. Anyway, this person in the review complained that it was too depressing and too dark. And too relentlessly hopeless, and I'm like, yeah, but that's the kind of comic that it is. It's like reading it's like reading Bloom Into You and complaining that it's a romance. It's what you're getting into.
Yeah,
it's what you're choosing to read, and so you can't. Oh, I watched a horror movie. Too scary. You know, it's like, okay, You're reading a
guess
social
I can-
commentary harrowing manga. I don't know. Yeah.
I can kind of see it in that it looks like it was in like Shonen Jump Plus, so you wouldn't necessarily expect it to be like that.
I guess.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I would simply not read that probably. I mean, maybe I would, and it looks like it's short. I know Pun Pun's
It's
like
very
really
good,
long,
but it's very harrowing, and it has a lot of warnings.
Yeah, I thought you would appreciate this. I'll do the abridged version, but my dad is actually like into anime. I told you earlier, he texted me because he has like much younger coworkers who are like really into anime, and now they're like asking him if he's seen stuff, and he's like texting me like, what is this? Because he got into it when I was a teenager, and I wanted to go to an anime convention. My brother and I did. And he wanted to chaperone us, but he was like, well, I want to like know what I'm getting into. So he like started watching some anime with us and then without us. And now he's just a huge nerd. He actually was mildly famous at the local con because he cosplayed as Gendo every year, which is just incredible. Because like he's such, clearly just from that anecdote, you know, he's like a very nice dad, who famously cosplays as like the worst dad.
The worst dad.
Yeah.
The worst dad. The worst anime dad. What's his favorite anime?
I think it probably is either Evangelion or maybe like Eureka 7? Is it Eureka or Eureka? I don't remember anymore.
I don't know.
It's a mech series, so I assumed you would know it.
Oh no, I mean I haven't watched it yet. I know of
right,
it.
right.
I just haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at actually watching stuff, as we've established.
I get that, yeah. I watch stuff. I watch like an anime episode a day on my lunch break. And then Mr. Melon and I watch it in the evenings. We started something called the Shonen Power Hour, where if it's after 8 p.m. and we don't know what to watch, we just put on. We've done several long-running shonen series this way. Right now we're working through a Haikyuu rewatch.
Are you open to suggestions for your Shonen Power Hour?
Maybe.
Have you heard of a little 80s anime called Saint Seiya?
I feel like
I had to. I'm sorry, I had to.
Mr. Melon's probably seen more of it than me because he has an older sister. And I'm like, how do I, without numbers? I don't know, but he has a sister who's like 10-ish years older, so he knows some more retro anime and stuff than I do sometimes. Like he watched a lot of Fushigi Yugi when he was younger, which is such a, you know, that classic like 12-year-old boy show. I just think that image is really funny. But yeah. Oh gosh, okay, so it got pretty late, and so I think probably I need to wrap up. But we certainly delivered on, I was like, I'm pretty sure we're never gonna run out of things to talk about. And I'm like, there's still more that we could.
There's so much more, actually, honestly. Like, that we could talk about. Like, there's like a lot of topics that, I think, we went through the entire list of topics, but I think for each of these topics, we could probably do an entire
There's
thing.
about 14 subtopics for each topic.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah,
like, I didn't talk about Gumbler Project Pomu in the
end.
Like, for example, I am making a custom Pomu.
There was much tea and a lot was left over. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we'll have to either have another tea party sometime, or, you know, we've talked about many other collabs. We should definitely do it again, if and when you have time in your semi-hiatus, your collab arc, if you will. I'm trying to get back into my collab arc. Oh. But yeah. I had better wrap up. I was thinking we would raid Echo, because she's celebrating her 1-year Twitch anniversary.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so happy we finally, you know, did this, and let's collab more again in the future. And I believe
let's go.
Tea with Honey will be back next week. I believe our own Fuhu and Hala will be here if we're still on for that, which I should definitely have double checked before the stream. But I think so. I want to say next Wednesday. Alright. And maybe I'll even make a schedule next week, but for now it's the weekend and I will vanish into the abyss. Maybe literally, because I'll probably play Zelda. But yeah,
Fantastic.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Maru. Thank you for the tea.
Thank you, honey. Thank you for the tea. Thank you for having me.
And let's hang out again too. Hang out again soon.
Do it.
Tried to, I don't know, structure several sentences at the same time. You know, mush together. But there's the raid message in chat, folks, if you would like to use it. Or if you don't have the... OBS. If you don't have the emote unlocked, which you can do with points, you can also use the second raid message with the melon. You know, it gets the idea across. But yeah, thank you again. Have a good weekend, everybody. Oats melon!
Oats melon!
Bye-bye!